Chapter 2091. Another saint's body, he's gone. The woman was also stupefied when she arrived. She smiled thinly. No wonder he dared act so insolently. He had a way to escape. As Lin Feng had moved through the wind, he had actually changed his mask and clothes. When the crowd penetrated into the wind, he left the strong wind, and that wind had moved forwards, taking his clones along. At that moment, Lin Feng was back with Ho Qing Lin and the others. They were calmly watching the scene. "Let's go," said Lin Feng, and they got up to leave. "Brothers, we are many people. Even if we get as many tickets, we also need to get tickets for the same day, and that will be very difficult. We'll need too much time," Lin Feng said to Ho Qing Lin. After all, they couldn't get many tickets for the ship, which was 5 days later. There were many auction houses, but for a dozen people, it would still be difficult to get so many tickets. "So what do you want to do?" asked Ho Qing Lin to Lin Feng. "I can bring everyone along, but the problem is you won't be able to enjoy and learn from the empty space tunnel," explained Lin Feng. "Learning from the empty space tunnel is less important than gaining time to find Mu Chen. When we come back from godly clouds, we'll all be able to learn from it," replied Ho Qing Lin. Lin Feng nodded and said, "All right. In 5 days, we will go to godly clouds. Let's relax for the next few days. Don't offend anyone. When we come back, we'll enjoy ourselves a bit here." Everybody understood they were in a rush. Mu Chen used to be a friend and a teacher, so if Lin Feng could take them along for free, it was the best solution. Everybody cared about Mu Chen greatly. As Lin Feng had said, the best thing to do was not to offend anyone and relax for a few days. Lin Feng found a tranquil place and took out his new talisman. He opened the talisman, and a beam of light emerged from it. Lin Feng put his godly awareness inside and sensed some deployment spell essence. This kind of talisman was perfect for carving deployment spells. Even though I am strong in comparison to people of the same cultivation level, I can't compete with great emperors. If I carve some great deployment spells inside this talisman, I will be able to use it if I face a great danger. That way, I won't need to use the saint's body, he said to himself. He extended his hand out and condensed all sorts of cosmic energies. At the same time, his heavenly grace godlywood appeared indistinctly behind his body, a hurricane made of cosmic energies gathering around it. Then those cosmic energies condensed down into his finger. He couldn't use such powerful cosmic energies on an ordinary talisman, or it would break. Lin Feng started carving on the great imperial talisman. Cosmic strength spread around him. Lin Feng hadn't carved deployment spells this seriously for a long time, and was extremely focused. The deployment marks were being carved with single-hearted devotion, and without distracting thoughts, glittering as they formed. After a long time, Lin Feng finished carving the deployment marks and put his talisman away. He was happy and smiled. He took out the 3 boxes he had obtained, without knowing what they were. 2 ordinary great imperial weapons and an imperial weapon I lost. Lin Feng smiled. He didn't mind. The ancient scriptures he had traded weren't useful to him. As long as he had the ship ticket, he was satisfied. After that, Lin Feng went into his spirit's world. The saint's body was there, dead and inert. No chi emerged from it. Lin Feng walked over to Qin Shan and put his soul strength into Qin Shan's brain. After a short time, Lin Feng's soul arrived in front of a dazzling light. Qin Shan was awake already, but he hadn't recovered. He still needed godly medicine to recover. "Master, can you help me check that body?" asked Lin Feng to the saint. "Saint's body," declared Qin Shan. Lin Feng shivered. It was really a saint's body. Why didn't it have chi though? Even the strong cultivators of the Doomsday auction house couldn't use it, so they had sold it. "Make it fuse together with my consciousness, and I'll see whether it still has a thread of consciousness or not," said Qin Shan. Lin Feng fused his soul together with the saint's consciousness. Qin Shan walked over to the saint, and his eyes twinkled. Dazzling lights emerged from the Qin Shan's eyes and penetrated into the saint's body. However, Lin Feng saw no consciousness at all, as if the saint was really dead. Lin Feng and Qin Shan's consciousness flew throughout that body. They realized that some kind of strength was blocking them, as they couldn't explore the saint's body thoroughly. Qin Shan used more of his will to pierce through the strength and penetrate into the body thoroughly. Lin Feng saw a golden empty space world within, but it seemed broken. A terrifying strength flowed towards them from the body. Qin Shan sensed a terrible power collide with his own. Golden lights bombarded his body with a crash and explosion of force. The saint was propelled away 1,000 meters and crashed onto the ground. He recalled his consciousness. Lin Feng was astonished. That body which hadn't moved for a very long time had attacked Qin Shan. What's that? A voice resonated inside Qin Shan's body and made him shake. Master, his body, that's... Lin Feng was shaking. Even though it's golden, it doesn't have any cosmic energy inside. It's as if his own strength has been broken, a golden empty space, a broken world. It's definitely a saint, but something catastrophic must have happened to him. Lin Feng and Qin Shan's consciousness had fused together. They could communicate directly without speaking. But he attacked our power? For him, everybody else is a nobody, an insignificant tiny little insect. He despises heaven and earth, murmured Qin Shan. He was a saint too, but he had never seen such a saint's body. That obstructive strength is formidable. It could destroy my consciousness. However, why could my consciousness pierce through the obstructive energy and penetrate into his body? Wondered Qin Shan, seemingly talking to himself. Master, said Lin Feng at that moment. My soul can get into it, whispered Lin Feng. Qin Shan remained silent for a few seconds. If he had a real body, it would have been perfect. I'll transmit an ancient technique to you. Try and control that body, said Qin Shan after remaining silent for a few seconds. He relayed an ancient technique to Lin Feng, and their minds separated. Lin Feng recalled his soul strength and studied the ancient technique. After a short time, he opened his eyes with a glitter. He stared at the saint's body as his soul came out of his body and moved into the saint's body. He inspected that broken golden world, with neither strength nor qi in it. Lin Feng had the impression that he was back in hell. It was the same kind of feeling. After a long time, the body finally moved and opened his eyes. It works. Lin Feng was stupefied. It was starting to work. Then Lin Feng moved his arm, and then his legs. After a very long time, the body stood up. Master. Lin Feng took a deep breath. He was moving. Could he really control this body? Don't get too excited. You've just started. It's a dead body, you can control it. But because it's a saint's body, it's not that easy either, as you can't use a saint's strength. In that body, there is absolutely no thread of consciousness. So you can use the body, but regarding the strength you can deploy with it, I guess it depends on how familiar you are with it, Qin Shan said to Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded and said, I understand. It's a dead body. I can control it, but it has no strength. But this body as a shell is quite powerful. I'll do all I can to practice the ancient technique you transmitted to me. Then, Lin Feng started walking around with a body that wasn't his own. At Lin Feng's cultivation level, his soul could easily move away from his body. Controlling a dead body wasn't difficult. The real difficulty was in controlling a dead saint's body. Even thought it was just a shell, not everyone could easily defeat such a body. Chapter 2092. Deadly tunnel. Time passed quickly without Lin Feng realizing it. He still hadn't managed to control the saint's body, but it was time to go to the empty space tunnel. The tunnel was a golden gate. It contained a deadly golden wind, strong enough to easily defeat a cultivator. Nature's strength could be dreadful sometimes, especially in the empty space tunnels, which connected the different parts of the continent. A ship had stopped at the gateway. It looked like a gigantic and terrifying warship, and seemed to be made of pure gold. That kind of empty space ship can easily cross the empty space tunnel. It's not actually made of gold. Powerful cultivators make them using cosmic energies. There are dangerous marks on it, and Tao essence. Lin Feng shivered when he saw the ship, wondering at the cost. Even though the ship was gigantic, there weren't many seats in it, because most of the ship components were there for defensive purposes, to cross the empty space tunnels. It was said that saints could cross the tunnels relying on their own strength. Great emperors, however, could not. The alliance who controlled the empty space tunnels was very strict when it came to migration flows. There were many strong cultivators at the entrance who checked everyone. There was even a terrifying cultivator in charge of the team. They had to guarantee proper operation of the ships, or their business could crash. There were many people there today. They were walking up the flight of stairs which led to the ship. Lin Feng gave his ticket to the guards and entered the ship. There were many people already present. The crew made full use of the ship. It was packed with 100 people, the maximum number of people who could be accommodated. The ship was surrounded by a curtain of dazzling lights, but one could still see the landscape outside. In the distance was the deadly golden wind. Lin Feng couldn't imagine what would happen if someone went into it. He remembered back when in the small world when he had fallen into fissures and had ended up in the terrifying passage. The empty space tunnel was even scarier. "It's you," said someone. Lin Feng turned around and saw the woman he had seen the other day at the auction house. Lin Feng smiled indifferently and answered, "It's me." The woman smiled too and looked him over. "You're strong. You used a special method to escape." Lin Feng shrugged but didn't say much. He just sat down. He only wanted to get to godly clouds. Finally, the 100 ticket holders had arrived, and the gigantic ship started moving. It was still surrounded by formidable golden lights, and a very powerful cultivator was driving the ship. When the ship left, there was a boom of imploding air, and then the ship disappeared into the distance. What a terrifying speed! Are we traveling through time? Thought Lin Feng, gasping with amazement. The landscape through the windows was incredible. It was like a golden ocean. Suddenly, some people fell down as an incredible gravitational pressure slammed down on Lin Feng. He had the impression his body was going to be crushed. The air was vibrating from the pressure. What kind of strength is this? Wondered Lin Feng. He had the impression he was going to suffocate. The air felt too heavy to breathe. The vibration in the air was making his blood bubble. Lin Feng was shocked and sat down carefully again. What kind of strength was this? Something rang in the air. The terrifying strength kept pressing down on the crowd. Many people coughed up blood. Lin Feng groaned with pain. The golden strength was too brutal. "Miss, the turbulences are terrifying today," one of her guards said to the woman, pulling a long face. "It happens sometimes. I hope it'll get better later," she murmured back. She looked at Lin Feng and said, "Is this the first time you've taken the empty space tunnel?" Lin Feng nodded. The most terrifying kinds of strength of the earth and sky are condensed inside the empty space tunnel. Only saints can cross it freely. Sometimes the strength in the empty space tunnel has the power of a saint. The ship is hard, but it can't stop all the threads of strength. If the strength in the tunnel is too powerful, then it spreads to the passengers. The ship can't take all the damage. "Some people can die," said the woman. Lin Feng nodded. He hadn't thought it would be like this. "Therefore you have to be at least a high-level emperor to take it. Weaker people will get crushed instantly." Lin Feng nodded again. He looked at the beautiful golden landscape passing by on both sides of the ship. He couldn't imagine how fast they were traveling. He had the impression they were traveling sideways through time. The strength wasn't destructive. It was oppressive and made Lin Feng's blood boil. Some time passed. People's faces stayed red. The atmosphere was so still, it was almost scary. Everybody remained silent. Time seemed to be passing very slowly. Even after a very long time, everybody still felt uncomfortable. Suddenly, the atmosphere became dark. People's faces changed drastically. Some of the passengers turned deathly pale, like sheets of paper. "Oh no! Deadly tunnel! How can we cross the deadly tunnel?" "Deadly tunnel?" Lin Feng didn't understand, and looked at the dark hurricane outside. The atmosphere became even more oppressive. The strong cultivator who was outside leading the ship came into the ship, a grimace on his face. "Master?" the woman asked the strong cultivator. Her face turned deathly pale. She had come to the Dark Night region because she had heard that a collection of great deployment spells illustrative plates had been sold to the Doomsday auction house. Her clan had sent her there hoping she could buy it. However, they hadn't thought she'd run into a dark death tunnel. Nobody can predict a death tunnel. "I hope it won't be too scary, otherwise, the ship will not be able to endure it, and we will all die. That would be horrible, especially since we're almost there," said the strong cultivator glumly. Everybody, release your strength. Rely on yourselves to survive. Then, the man closed his eyes, looking ready to do battle. Nobody knew how strong the destructive death tunnel strength would be. Were they going to be lucky or not? Lin Feng pulled a long face. The captain looked extremely strong, but at that moment he was talking in a grave and solemn way, which meant the situation was really dangerous. Demon and Earth Dao strength surrounded his body. Everybody was releasing energies to protect themselves at that moment. Nobody could care about others. When the strength collided with the ship, it shook violently. Some people's defensive energies crackled. Was this their judgment day? Lin Feng kept releasing life cosmic energies. There. Lin Feng saw the woman. Dazzling lights were surrounding her and her people. Lin Feng suddenly jumped forwards as the ship shook even more violently. Many people could barely stand steadily. A terrifying strength streaked across the sky again. Lin Feng ran towards the woman and took her in his arms. She frowned darkly, but did nothing. She couldn't take care of herself, so she couldn't take care of anything else. Lin Feng lost consciousness. Godly clouds. Fengzhou City. Exit of the empty space tunnel. The waiting crowd saw a ship come out. When they saw all those people lying down on the ship, they were astonished. They had probably run into a death tunnel. Many people are dead or injured. Someone's eyes twinkled. He got closer. There were many corpses on the ship. Since they were dead already, their items weren't theirs anymore. Move away, ordered someone icily. A group of strong cultivators arrived in front of the ship. Miss is there, said someone. The group of strong cultivators all grimaced. Surprisingly, so many people were dead. She still has chi. Someone slowly walked up to her. A young man was holding her in his arms. When the crowd saw that, they looked at him icily, especially the young men around. Chapter 2093. Qingshan City. Does anyone know him? Asked that strong cultivator. Everybody shook their heads. They looked furious. Uncle, should we kill him? Asked someone. Their leader muttered to himself irresolutely and said, We don't know if he knows Missy. Let's bring him back. All right. The crowd nodded and started picking up things from the ship. The captain of the ship and some great emperors started waking up. The others were either dead or injured. Lin Feng was lucky. He was injured, but not dead due to his incredibly powerful soul and body. Godly Clouds was in the very center of the continent of the 9 clouds. It had a border with the 8 other regions of the continent. It was also the widest and strongest region. All sorts of cultivators gathered there. Their battles were magnificent and explosive. Great scholars, doctors, deployment spellcasters, and people who had special powers dwelled there. In the central part of Godly Clouds were many powerful cities. They all had their own rules. Some of them had holy clans. Some of them had universities. Some of them had sects. Some of them were like hell, where a central government ruled over the city. In Qingshan City, ancient families were extremely powerful, or in other words, were ancient clans. 2 families were particularly strong, the Jing clan and the Yu clan. They were both families of deployment spellcasters, and extremely powerful. The Jing clan was gaining strength, especially their young people. They seemed stronger than the Yu clan. However, recently, a scandal had struck the Jing clan. As one of their descendants, Jing Xiaoyu, had fallen in love with someone she shouldn't have. Many people still talked about it. The Jing clan could go and kill him, but Jing Xiaoyu threatened to kill herself if they did. That scandal spread all around Qingshan City. Everybody was talking about it. Some people had compassion for Jing Xiaoyu. In the cultivation world, few people ever knew what real love was. She had found someone she loved, but unfortunately, he was already hundreds of years old, and even though he was strong, his potential had limits and the Jing clan didn't want her to get married to such a person. In a dark tower of the Jing clan, a man was chained up, screws stuck into him, looking extremely weak. 2 flames kept flickering as he suffered from unspeakable pains. Someone came to him and smiled evilly. If you tell Xiaoyu you deceived her on a stage in front of everyone, you'll be freed. The man raised his head and smiled at him mockingly, replying icily, Hundreds of years passed and I thought I'd never find love again. However, I met Xiaoyu. Even if you kill me, I will never say that. My disciples will help avenge me if you kill me. My fellow disciple is with them. If I can't be with her in a relationship, then you can just kill me." He smiled broadly. "You want to die?" His torturer smiled pitilessly. "Since you don't agree, you'll stay here forever and suffer unbearably. Xiaoyu doesn't know we captured you. She will slowly forget about you, find someone else and fall in love with them. We set a date. If she doesn't see me on that day, she'll know the truth. She knows I would never abandon her," said the man indifferently. "You're wrong. We've already told her that you wanted to use her to join the Jing clan. If you don't show up, she'll know you just wanted to deceive her," said that person emotionlessly. And then he disappeared down a dark corridor, following the faint torches on the walls. The man sighed. He remembered back then when he had fallen in love. He remembered they were incredible cultivators in his world. Then, he had joined hands with his friends to leave that sealed world to come to the great world, which had always been a dream of theirs. And now he was in such a situation because of love. Since he was imprisoned, he thought about his disciples all the time. Some of them had already become high-level emperors. He was convinced that some of them would become terrifying cultivators someday. He had met Xiaoyu by a lucky coincidence. She was so similar to the woman he had loved. He had noticed some things were different, but it hadn't prevented him from loving her. However, the cultivation world was cruel. If you weren't strong enough, it could be a nightmare. High-level emperors were incredible cultivators in their previous world. But in this new world, they were extremely weak. In a room in the Yu clan, Lin Feng opened his eyes. He was still in pain. "I'm still alive," thought Lin Feng, taking a deep breath. That strength in the tunnel was too terrifying. Even a great emperor could have died in there. He remembered thinking he was going to die. He struggled to stand up. It was so painful. His body and soul were both sore. He had the impression his body weighed hundreds of kilos, or as if his body wasn't his own anymore. "Where am I?" he wondered. He realized some of his rings had disappeared. Even though he had put the most important things in his spirit's world, he still used rings, and had hidden many things in them. Someone had stolen his rings. He slowly finished standing up and walked up to the door. He opened it and saw a courtyard beyond, with some guards stationed there. When they saw him, one of the guards said, "You're awake, you should rest for now." "Where are we?" asked Lin Feng. "You ministry buildings misuse residence," said the guard calmly. "A lady's residence." There was only an ordinary guard. And on top of that he told Lin Feng to rest. "I'm going out," said Lin Feng calmly, continuing forwards. However, the guard blocked him and said icily, "Before Miss Yu wakes up, you're staying here." Lin Feng frowned. He remembered that he had taken a woman in his arms just before losing consciousness. She had something to protect herself, so he had used her item and jumped into the lights. Was the guard talking about that woman? "Are we in godly clouds?" asked Lin Feng. Even though he knew it, he wanted to make sure. "Godly clouds, Qingshan City," answered the guard. "I'm in godly clouds." Lin Feng's eyes twinkled. He had to find a way to leave, to go find Mu Chen. "Stay here." When the guard saw that Lin Feng wanted to leave, he looked angry. Lin Feng grunted icily. He wanted to force his way through. But at that moment, there was a whistling of rapid movement. A group of people appeared. The woman was among them. The woman landed in front of Lin Feng and ground her teeth. She said icily, "Shameless bastard. I had no choice, otherwise I would have died. Please forgive me," said Lin Feng. He had almost died. He hadn't had time to think. "Yu Yi, since you don't know him then." A young man next to the young woman said icily. He wanted to kill Lin Feng. However, Yu Yi ignored him and said to Lin Feng, "You can leave, but first give me the great imperial talisman." Lin Feng looked unhappy and said, "Your friends took all my rings, and you want my great imperial talisman? Did that happen?" Yu Yi asked the young men next to her icily. He replied, "Uncle took his rings. He was waiting for you to wake up to make a decision." "Let's go and see my father," said Yu Yi. She turned to Lin Feng and told him, "Come with me." The group of people headed towards a palace. A middle-aged man was within, looking at a deployment talisman. The one who had carved that talisman was extremely strong. The talisman in front of him was the talisman Lin Feng had carved. He had found it by crushing one of Lin Feng's rings after inspecting his memories. Lin Feng had to be a great scholar. Chapter 2094. Deployment spell family. Yu Kuan focused and put his godly awareness in the talisman and inspected the marks, asking, "Did you get this from that little boy?" "Indeed. Miss Yu hasn't woken up yet. Maybe they know one another, but we took the ring anyway," replied the other one. "When Yu Yi wakes up, tell her to come to me," said Yu Kuan. As he was talking, the group of people had already landed out of the palace, and a voice came to his ears. "Father. Oh, I was just talking about you, and now you're here." Yu Kuan smiled. He looked out of the window and saw them come. Deployment talisman. Yu Yi looked at the deployment talisman in Yu Kuan's hand. "Hey, little Yi, look," said Yu Kuan, giving the talisman to Yu Yi. Yu Yi took it and put her godly awareness inside, her expression changing. She said, "Those deployment marks are so complex. The one who carved that talisman is extremely strong. Did you do that?" Yu Kuan shook his head and looked at Lin Feng. He asked, "Little boy, are you from a clan or sect of deployment spellcasters?" Lin Feng's hair bristled. These people were shameless. They had inspected his rings and taken things out. Luckily, he hadn't put anything too important inside, but there were many ancient scriptures within them. "It's him," said Yu Yi, pointing at Lin Feng. Then, she remembered something and said, "Is that the talisman you got at the auction house? You just polished it a little bit, right? The essence was already very thick inside, right?" Yu Yi was convinced that Lin Feng had no knowledge of deployment spells. She was from a family of deployment spellcasters. They were extremely strong, yet many of their people couldn't carve such good deployment talismans. Even her father, who was a great scholar, couldn't carve such perfect talismans. It was extremely difficult. "Kind of, maybe," replied Lin Feng evenly before asking, "Will you give me back my things? I don't care about your items, but first tell me who helped you carve that talisman." "The essence was useless. It was like blank paper. The one who carved the talisman is incredible," said Yu Kuan calmly. Lin Feng's eyes glittered. If he told them the truth, they weren't going to let him go. He replied, "My teacher helped me." "Your teacher?" Yu Kuan's eyes twinkled. He had guessed so. "Did your teacher come with you on the ship?" Yu Kuan asked Lin Feng politely. Lin Feng was some great scholar's disciple. They could establish good relations. It was difficult to get ship tickets. "I just bought one. My teacher got one. But for a different date, he should be here too now," replied Lin Feng. "I see. What's your name?" asked Yu Kuan, smiling at Lin Feng politely. "Lin Feng." "Oh, Lin Feng, please be our guest. When your teacher comes, he should come here," said Yu Kuan amiably, and then glanced at Yu Yi. "Little Yi, be nice to Lin Feng." Yu Yi looked surprised. Her father wanted to invite Lin Feng and his teacher. She had underestimated him. From what her father had just said, no matter what Lin Feng had said or done to her before, it wasn't important. The most important thing was to get to know him and be friends with him. "All right, father," said Yu Yi, glancing at Lin Feng. She remembered that Lin Feng had so many ancient scriptures. He had bought so many things in the auction house. So initially his teacher was a great scholar. No wonder he was so rich. Deployment spellcasters could sell things to others and obtain great items. Buying things was easy for someone wealthy. She was from a clan of deployment spellcasters, so she understood the principle. "Lin Feng, take your rings." "Little Yi, give the talisman back to Lin Feng," ordered Yu Kuan, returning Lin Feng's rings to him. Lin Feng took them and re-established a connection to them. Then he put all his other rings in one ring. "Lin Feng, let's go," said Yu Yi to Lin Feng. She had a strange feeling, but she controlled herself and didn't mention it. After all, Lin Feng's teacher had to be a great scholar in the field of deployment spells. All right. Lin Feng wanted to leave too. Now nobody was going to stop him. He was happy. However, those next to Yu Yi were furious. This guy was surprisingly from a clan of deployment spellcasters. They couldn't do anything to him? If they knew that Lin Feng had made the talisman himself, how would these people have reacted? "I want to go out," said Lin Feng to Yu Yi after they left the palace. "All right, I'll take you out." Yu Yi rose up into the air and glanced around. Then she pointed out to Lin Feng. "This is my clan's territory, the Yu clan. We are one of the two strongest clans in Qingshan City. We are a clan of deployment spellcasters. We've existed for 10,000 years. Apart from our territory, we have many deployment mines. Deployment mines? Lin Feng didn't understand. What was a deployment mine? You've never heard of deployment mines in the Dark Night region? Asked Yu Yi, curious. I haven't, said Lin Feng. I'll take you to see one when we have time. Yu Yi smiled. After a short time, they had left the Yu Ministry area. Lin Feng said to Yu Yi, I want to go out on my own. Yu Yi was surprised, but she smiled and nodded. All right. If you need anything, come to our clan. Here, this is my jade talisman. All right. Lin Feng nodded and took it. They exchanged their godly awareness talismans, and then Lin Feng departed. I'll take Ho Qing Lin out, and then we'll look for Mu Chen. Lin Feng glanced around, and then flitted away. He found a place with nobody around quickly enough. And then Ho Qing Lin and the others appeared around him. Lin Feng. Ho Qing Lin looked to him and asked, Are we in godly clouds? Yes, godly clouds, Qingshan City. Where's Mu Chen? Asked Lin Feng urgently. Ho Qing Lin nodded and took out the soul-locking bells, rising up into the air. The bells rang and the sound spread out softly. That way. I don't know how far though, stated Ho Qing Lin. A boat appeared and Lin Feng and his friends hopped aboard, following the signal of the soul-locking bells. Lin Feng didn't intend to go back to the Yu clan. He just wanted to find Mu Chen. The air whistled past them as the ship streaked across the sky of Qingshan City. The soul-locking bells rang louder and louder. Ho Qing Lin was startled, as in front of them, a vast palace appeared. It was a rich clan's mansion house. Lin Feng, stop, Ho Qing Lin said suddenly. His eyebrows looked as sharp as swords. Lin Feng sensed something and stopped quickly. The bells were ringing louder and louder. The signal pointed to the mansion house in front of them. Go! Ho Qing Lin threw out the soul-locking bells, which turned into a beam of light. Lin Feng and the others stared after them. Very quickly, the bells entered the mansion house. Lin Feng and the others followed the bells. In order not to draw people's attention, they were flying up in the clouds. Ho Qing Lin and Lin Feng remained silent. They had the feeling that Mu Chen was in the mansion. As expected, the bells entered a black tower. The bells were ringing so loud that it made their souls shake. Black Tower, Mu Chen. Ho Qing Lin was grim as he said, Mu Chen is in the Black Tower. Lin Feng and the others shivered. At that moment, a group of strong cultivators started chasing the soul-locking bells. Lin Feng said, Brother, recall the soul-locking bells. All right. Ho Qing Lin nodded and recalled the soul-locking bells. The strong cultivators followed them. The soul-locking bells returned to Ho Qing Lin, and the strong cultivators noticed them. Who are you? The leader of the group asked Lin Feng, and the others icily. We're just passengers. We didn't want to disturb you. Sorry, replied Ho Qing Lin, looking calm and composed. These men were all great emperors. What was that thing? Asked that person icily. An ordinary toy we were playing with. Sorry for having disturbed you. We're leaving, said Ho Qing Lin with a courteous wave. And then he ordered, let's go. They left, but they were furious. They wanted to go into the tower and force the way, but it was too risky. Chapter 2095. Tower of Torture. Ho Qing Lin and the others departed quickly. The men from the tower didn't try to ask them anything else. After all, Lin Feng and the others' chi looked extraordinary. They might have a powerful background. After leaving, Lin Feng and the others finally let their fury show. Brother, are you sure Mu Chen is in that black tower? Asked Wuxia coolly. If the signal of the soul-locking bells is right, then he should be in there. He's probably imprisoned. Ho Qing Lin replied grimly. Let's go. Let's investigate first. Since he's been imprisoned by a powerful group, maybe some people know about him in the region, suggested Tianqi. He was trying to control himself. Everybody nodded agreement. Then, they descended from the sky and found a pub with many people. They all decided to sit down at different tables where there were people already. Lin Feng found a table and asked to those who were seated there, Can I sit here? That person looked at Lin Feng, smiled and said, Please do. Lin Feng sat down and glanced around. Then he whispered, I came to Qingshan City because I want to learn more about this place. There is an imposing and magnificent mansion house over there. Whose house is it? Lin Feng pointed at the black tower in the horizon out of the window. Lin Feng's interlocutor smiled and said, "My boy, it definitely is your first time in Qingshan City. It's the Jing clan." "Is the Jing clan very strong?" asked Lin Feng. "Of course. Qingshan City is an ordinary city in godly clouds. There are only a few powerful clans here. But the Jing clan and the Yu clan are the strongest clans in town. They are both families of deployment spellcasters. And let me tell you, in the last 100 years, the Jing clan had become much stronger than the Yu clan. There's now a huge gap between them. If the descendants of the Yu clan don't make efforts, the Jing clan will crush them someday," whispered that person. Even though everybody knew that in Qingshan City, saying that loudly could make others unhappy. Yu clan deployment spellcaster. Lin Feng was stupefied. The Yu clan was precisely Yu Ye's clan. Lin Feng actually knew them. "Does the Jing clan have saint emperors?" asked Lin Feng. "Naturally. According to legends, there are 6 saint emperors in Qingshan City, spread over 4 clans. The Jing clan and the Yu clan have 2 saint emperors each, the 2 others clans a saint emperor each. Maybe there are some others, but that I don't know about them," said Lin Feng's informant happily. He was happy to chat with someone, and this kind of stuff was hardly secret anyway. Lin Feng could evaluate the situation approximately. 2 saint emperors each, so he had to use the power of a saint. Tiantai's disciples couldn't rescue Mu Chen. Lin Feng didn't know if he could fight using Qin Shan's body again. If he did, it meant taking the risk of destroying Qin Shan's consciousness and body, as well as his own. In the worst case, Mu Chen is imprisoned by the Jing clan, and they are not willing to release him, in which case I'd have to use the saint's power, thought Lin Feng. He asked, "Have you ever heard of Mu Chen?" Mu Chen. When he heard Lin Feng's question, the other man's expression changed in a strange way, especially since Lin Feng had asked him whether the Jing clan was strong or not. "Do you know Mu Chen?" asked that person. "I don't know him. I've heard many people talk about the Jing clan and Mu Chen. I was wondering who he was?" asked Lin Feng, trying to remain composed. He even smiled indifferently. He wanted to see the man's reaction. Hee. Mu Chen is a little bit famous in Qingshan City, so it's normal that people are talking about him. "I guess I can tell you about him." The other man smiled. "Thank you very much," Lin Feng said politely. "To be honest, we have to admit that Mu Chen is incredible. He's not a young man, but he's a high-level emperor already. And his fighting abilities are incredible. His soul strength is terrifyingly powerful. But there are many strong people in Qingshan City. When talking about Mu Chen, you have to mention someone else. Jing Xiaoyu. She's well-mannered, pretty and polished, as well as elegant and free from vulgarity. She's also extremely strong and talented, especially when it comes to deployment spells. Also, she's not even 40 yet, and is at her prime. Many people wish they could get married to her. However, she surprisingly fell in love with Mu Chen, which perplexes everyone despite much thought. Even though cultivators can live for a very long time, and age doesn't matter in terms of love, those two really don't belong to the same world. So it's strange for them to be in a relationship. Don't you think? Explained the man. He didn't understand what was going on. However, Lin Feng shivered. Mu Chen had fallen in love with someone again. She was probably extremely beautiful. However, people in the cultivation world were often extremely parochial. Mu Chen had charisma. It wasn't surprising that a woman had fallen in love with him. Lin Feng and the other disciples respected him regardless. "What happened after that?" asked Lin Feng. After that, many things happened. Mu Chen killed many members of the Jing clan. They were furious and wanted to kill Mu Chen. They injured him. But then Jing Xiaoyu threatened to kill herself if they killed him. The Jing clan didn't dare kill him, as Jing Xiaoyu holds a special position in her clan. She's extremely strong and her close relatives, such as her brothers and her father, are all extraordinary. She's important to her clan. She can't die, so Mu Chen can't die either. So they imprisoned him? Lin Feng was furious and blurted that out unthinkingly. However, his interlocutor was surprised and said, "Imprisoned? I don't think so. I think they gave Jing Xiaoyu and Mu Chen an opportunity. What opportunity? Asked Lin Feng. To fight over a deployment mine, said that person. In Qingshan City, there are some very important deployment mines which are very useful for clans of deployment spellcasters. Therefore, there are 4 clans which keep competing over them, especially the Jing clan and the Yu clan. The competition between them is fierce. Each time many people die when they fight over them. Right now the Jing clan is the strongest clan. They are slowly dominating the Yu clan. Therefore, the Jing clan wants to gain control of the 4 major deployment mines. Right now, each of the 4 clans guard 1 deployment mine. The Jing clan wants to get the deployment mines of the 3 other clans, but they naturally don't agree, right? Said Lin Feng. He wasn't worried about the deployment mines, he was worried about Mu Chen. Indeed, the 3 clans are all angry at the Jing clan. They have fought many times. However, they have not managed to prevent the Jing clan from expanding. Eventually they agreed on something, using young people to determine to whom the deployment mines belong. If anyone loses, they must give up their deployment mine, including the Jing clan. So the Jing clan can't use the same batch of people? Asked Lin Feng. If using the same batch of people was possible, the Jing clan could use their strongest cultivators and steal all the deployment mines. After all, according to what this guy had said, the Jing clan had the advantage. Indeed, the 4 clans protect their own deployment mine. If they are strong enough, they can also steal the Jing clan's deployment mine, which is also the best one, replied his informant. The Jing clan wants Mu Chen to help them steal a deployment mine? Indeed, the Jing clan and Mu Chen agreed that if he could help steal the Yu clan's deployment mine, they would accept his relationship with Jing Xiaoyu. But Mu Chen might die there. The Yu clan isn't ready to give up. Maybe they won't try to steal the Jing clan's deployment mine, but at least they'll do all they can to keep their own. The 2 others are the same. They all invited some extremely strong young people to help them out. Lin Feng pulled a long face. The Jing clan wanted Mu Chen to help them, but he was imprisoned. What was that supposed to mean? Lin Feng's interlocutor didn't seem to know that Mu Chen was in the Jing clan. It probably proved that he was imprisoned. Can other people still participate and help the clans fight for the deployment mines? I think so. The Jing clan is the most powerful clan of deployment spellcasters. They want to expand more anyway, replied the fellow. I understand. Thank you very much for all those pieces of information, brother. Oh, do you know what the Jing clan's Black Tower is? Asked Lin Feng. You mean the Black Tower in which they torture people? People who are imprisoned there never come out, replied his interlocutor. Lin Feng frowned and his eyes glittered icily. The Jing clan didn't intend to let Mu Chen participate in the competition for the deployment mines. It was just an excuse. He was in the Black Tower, which nobody ever came out of. Chapter 2096. Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. Lin Feng and Tiantai's people left the restaurant. They exchanged the pieces of information they had obtained in there. The gossipers hadn't lied. It would have been pointless. Everybody knew about what was going on in Qingshan City. Only strangers like them didn't. The case was actually quite simple. The Jing clan had deceived Jing Xiaoyu and imprisoned Mu Chen. They were lying and saying that Mu Chen was going to participate to the deployment mine competition. They made it seem like a perfect opportunity for Mu Chen. But actually, they didn't intend to release Mu Chen at all. He was in the Black Tower, doomed to never see the sky again. A bunch of bastards. What should we do? Asked Tiantai, righteously indignant. His eyes were gleaming. Even though he had never seen Mu Chen, Tiantai's disciples all respected him as a founder, just like Emperor Yu. Mu Chen was one of the 2 founders of Tiantai, and they were all descendants. Brothers, do you know the 4 clans? Lin Feng asked everyone. Of course. The Jing clan imprisoned Mu Chen. They are the strongest clan, having surpassed the Yu clan. The 2 other clans, the Luo clan and the Hong clan, have joined hands. Lin Feng, what do you think? Ho Qing Lin said to Lin Feng. Ho Qing Lin, bring some people to the Luo clan. Wuxia, bring some people to the Hong clan. Tiantai and I will go to the Yu clan, and we'll help them. Ho Qing Ling, if possible don't attack. Bring Wuxia. And after the competition, we'll go to the Jing clan's deployment mine and put pressure on them. Lin Feng said slowly. Everybody was startled at his idea. Wuxia said, will it not produce the opposite of the desired result if we collaborate with the Jing clan? How can we save Mu Chen that way? The 4 clans want to protect their deployment mines. If we help them, they'll be happy. At that moment, when we steal the deployment mine from the Jing clan will release him, and we'll stop. The other 3 clans won't mind. If they don't, we'll keep the deployment mine, and they won't be happy. If the Jing clan doesn't respect the agreement, the 3 other clans will start fighting against them, and then we'll have the opportunity to rescue Mu Chen using other methods, said Lin Feng calmly. If we help the Jing clan steal all the deployment mines, will they release Mu Chen? Asked Ban Ruo. They won't. The Jing clan think the 3 other clans are weak and stupid. We just want to help them to make things look perfect. The Jing clan is strong, so if we help them win, they won't be touched. And the teams we've just agreed to are just temporary. They may change at some point, said Lin Feng. Everybody nodded. The Jing clan was powerful and extremely conceited. If they provided the Jing clan with timely help and jumped on the bandwagon, the Jing clan wouldn't care. They'd just use them temporarily. Since it's that way, let's separate. Keep in touch using jade talismans, said Ho Ching Lin. All right. They all separated in teams and moved in different directions. Lin Feng and Tantai left together and headed back to the Yu clan. He hadn't thought he'd return at all. Tantai, how strong are you now? Asked Lin Feng to Tantai. He hadn't seen Tantai for a few years. He hadn't had time to chat with his friends as much. He didn't even know how strong they had become. Lin Feng had to understand that to assess the situation. When Tantai heard Lin Feng, he smiled. He looked particularly self-confident. He said, the celestial evolution holy scriptures are extremely powerful. I used to think I wasn't strong enough, but after studying the celestial evolution holy scriptures, my physical strength suddenly started changing. I can make strength condense in a perfect way, and my strength is now explosive. Besides, you know what kind of Tao I understand now, strength Tao. Maybe I'm not fast enough, but I'm monstrously strong physically, Tantai said confidently. Grand talents matured slowly among his people. After meeting Lin Feng and the others, he had started becoming much stronger. Because he had the impression it was never enough, he kept studying hard, step by step. Lin Feng nodded. He knew Tantai was an expert when it came to physical strength. With his strength Tao power, his attacks were probably exceedingly dangerous. Lin Feng had no doubts about that. He had transmitted the ancient holy techniques to his friends as well. Even though they hadn't received them directly from the saints, it was still better than nothing. When they arrived back at the Yu clan, Lin Feng went to find Yu Yi. When she saw Tantai, Yu Yi was surprised. How come Lin Feng had a new friend? She had noticed he was alone on the ship. Lin Feng, who is this? A friend of mine. My teacher doesn't have only one disciple, Lin Feng smiled. At the mention of his teacher, Yu Ye's beautiful eyes twinkled. So your teacher is in town too? He's in godly clouds. If he wants to see me, he'll find me, replied Lin Feng. Lin Feng, little brother, don't forget to tell your teacher about me. At that moment, Yu Kuan arrived and said happily. Of course, Lin Feng said to Yu Kuan. On his side, there were strong cultivators, including great emperors of different ages and talents. There could be huge age differences between great emperors. That's the great scholar's disciple? Asked a new person, looking at Lin Feng indifferently. Indeed. His teacher carved that talisman. It gave me cold sweats, said Yu Kuan smiled. How strong. So Lin Feng's deployment spell abilities must be incredible too, said that person, smiling politely at Lin Feng. Tantai remained silent. He wasn't like that in the past. Even though he was still impulsive, he had finally learned how to control himself. He just remained silent and smiled coldly on the inside. Lin Feng's deployment spells were terrifying. And those people dared talk this way in front of him? I'm all right, said Lin Feng, not minding them and smiling noncommittedly. Okay, you're a young and outstanding man, and a high-level emperor already. Your teacher must be really good. Another man smiled. And you, how good are you when it comes to deployment spells, in comparison with Yu Lin? Someone else asked in amusement. In comparison with Yu Lin? Many of those around shook their heads, as if the answer were obvious. Let's go. He's almost here. Yes. Little Yi, stay with Lin Feng, Yu Kuan said, nodding at Lin Feng. He left with the group of people. Yu Yi, let's go and welcome him. At that moment, a young man had arrived behind Yu Yi. Yu Yi looked at Lin Feng and Lin Feng nodded. Don't worry about me. It's all right. Yu Lin is coming back today. We can go and see him too, said Yu Yi, smiling at Lin Feng. Lin Feng was surprised. It seemed that this Yu Lin had a high social status within the Yu clan. Even great emperors came to greet him. They started walking as Yu Yi explained to Lin Feng. Yu Lin is extremely strong. He's the best deployment spellcaster of the clan, very talented. He's practicing cultivation in the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. If the Yu clan wasn't facing difficulties, he wouldn't have come back. No wonder that the Yu clan attaches importance to him. If he's such a skilled deployment spellcaster, thought Lin Feng. Lin Feng, you're from the Dark Knight region. You have never heard of the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, I guess? The Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry has trained some people who have become great deployment masters, who corresponds to saints in terms of cultivation. To practice cultivation in the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, being a powerful cultivator isn't enough. You must also be an incredible deployment spellcaster, she explained. Lin Feng thought that it was no wonder that Godly Clouds was the center of the continent, and that they were the strongest region. The Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, amazingly, had great deployment masters. Yu Lin is getting closer and closer to becoming a great scholar. But our clan has problems, so we asked the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry to send him back to us temporarily. Yu Lin also brought back a friend with him. He's also a strong person from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. This way, nobody can pose a threat to us, whispered Yu Yi. Lin Feng understood that she was talking about the Jing clan and the other two clans. Lin Feng now understood why Yu Kuan and the great emperors had gone to greet them. Yu Lin and his friend were probably extraordinary people. But the Jing clan was the most powerful clan, so at the same level, their young cultivators could defeat the young people of the Yu clan. The Jing clan probably had people like Yu Lin as well, or even stronger. Godly Clouds has talented individuals in hiding, so at the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds, many vied for supremacy. Many geniuses from everywhere in the continent of the Nine Clouds gathered in Godly Clouds. Yu Lin is here, said a young man next to Yu Yi at that moment. In the distant sky, two cultivators appeared riding beasts. The beasts were marvelous. Rhinoceroses which had the blood of blood dragons. One could see they were incredibly powerful with just a glance. The two cultivators riding them looked astonishingly strong. They were precisely Yu Lin and his fellow disciple. Chapter 2097. Battle in the Dark. Yu Yi and everyone else were watching at Yu Lin. Lin Feng looked at the young men next to Yu Yi, noting their eyes were filled with admiration and respect. When the difference between them and other people wasn't big, they were jealous, but when the difference between them and other people was huge, they looked at them with respect and admiration. Yu Lin was the strongest young man of their clan, both in terms of deployment spells and strength. Yu Yi beamed, her admiration evident. Yu Lin. At that moment, Yu Kuan and the others stepped forwards, and Yu Lin and his friend descended from the sky. Uncle Kuan, said Yu Lin to Yu Kuan. Then he introduced his friend. This is my fellow disciple Su Mu. Little Su Mu, welcome to our Yu clan. Your presence brings light to our humble dwelling, said Yu Kuan with a smile. Uncle Kuan, you're too polite. Yu Lin and I are like brothers. I'm happy to help him, returned Su Mu calmly. The members of the Yu clan all nodded happily, glad to see both of them. In Godly Clouds or in the Dark Knight region, everybody respected geniuses and talented people. At that moment, Yu Lin walked over to Yu Yi and smiled easily. Brother Yu Lin, Yu Yi smiled. She took a few steps forwards to greet him. Yu Yi, you're becoming more and more beautiful, Yu Lin smiled. He took a step forwards and caressed her cheek and smiled. Come little Yi, let me introduce you my friend Su Mu. Brother Su Mu. Yu Yi greeted Su Mu. Her beautiful eyes were filled with esteem and respect. Su Mu was Yulin's friend and had come to the Yu clan, which meant he was also very talented. She knew how strong people from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry were. Yulin told me how beautiful his little sister was. Now that I see you, I can confirm. Unfortunately, there aren't many women in the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. If you could join us, that would be great, said Su Mu. Grinned back at her. Brother Su Mu, you're joking. I'm not talented enough. How could I become a member of the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry? Replied Yu Yi. She didn't lie, as even though she was talented, she knew she wasn't talented enough to become a member of the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. After all, that was a place where you could see great deployment masters. No matter what a person's social status was, talent was the most important thing. We can exchange a lot this time. Maybe you will suddenly improve and meet the requirements to join the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. Su Mu smiled. When Yu Yi heard Su Mu, she beamed happily and said, Thank you very much, Brother Su Mu. We can exchange views on various things. Just don't give up halfway. We won't have time to fall in love though, said Su Mu jokingly. Yu Kuan's eyes flashed. He wanted to say something, but Yulin whispered, Uncle Kuan, she isn't a teenager anymore. Brother Su Mu is extraordinarily talented. She should cherish this opportunity. All right, Yulin. Then you can help. Yu Kuan grinned. Yulin wanted to act as a middleman. Of course, Yulin nodded. He raised his head and looked at Lin Feng and Tantai, next to Yu Yi. He asked, Uncle Kuan, I don't know those two people. Are they from the Yu clan too? Why are they standing so close to little Yi? They aren't. Lin Feng and Yu Yi got to know one another in the Dark Night region. They met by accident on the way back to Godly Clouds. His teacher is a great scholar. That's why I told Yu Yi to get close to him, said Yu Kuan using telepathy. His teacher is just a great scholar. Brother Su Mu became a great scholar when he was 5 years old. Uncle Kuan, in the future, don't let little Yi hang out with him. Otherwise Brother Su Mu won't be happy, and it might ruin everything. Brother Su Mu seems to be interested in little Yi, replied Yulin. He was from the Yu clan. He hoped Yu Yi could enter a better clan. Su Mu was talented, every bit as strong as himself. He hoped they could become a couple. Alright, good. I'll tell her to stay away from him then. Yu Kuan nodded. Yulin didn't add anything else. He didn't spend too much time on Lin Feng. Even though great scholars could be beneficial for the Yu clan, to someone from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, a great scholar wasn't important. They had too many. Some people there of the same age were as strong as he was, and were already great scholars. Therefore, Yulin didn't care about Lin Feng's teacher being a great scholar. Even as Su Mu and Yulin arrived, there were also 3 young people chatting in a palace in the Jing clan. Yulin arrived? Asked one of the young men to someone entering the main hall. Yulin and Su Mu, replied the man. Su Mu and Yulin are good friends. But the Yu clan are too naive. They think they can prevent us from getting their deployment mine? Said Jingyan calmly. He sounded self-confident, as if the situation was perfectly under control. Brother, Yulin, that little boy, opposed our brother in the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. The Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry can't do much against him. We should teach him a good lesson, said a young man standing in a lower position, smiling at Jing Yan. He was also from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. The Jing clan and the Yu clan were both families of deployment spellcasters. Their most outstanding descendants all went to the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry to practice cultivation. Yulin and Su Mu are not easy targets. We have to be vigilant. Don't ruin the plans. Unfortunately, our friend hasn't come. Otherwise, we would have easily invaded all the deployment mines, Jing Yan said calmly. He's doing all he can to get ready for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. We should be happy for him. If he had come, we would have crushed everyone. Everyone nodded. The meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds was extremely important for everyone. The most outstanding people of the whole continent were getting ready for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. At the same time, apart from the Jing clan and the Yu clan, the 2 other clans were also getting ready for the competition over the deployment mines. Ho Qing Lin and Tianqi had already managed to infiltrate those groups. The clans were happy to receive some help, and coupled with the geniuses they had invited, keeping their deployment mines would be no problem. They all understood that the biggest competition was between the Yu clan and the Jing clan. They just hoped that the Yu clan would be able to protect themselves and would prevent the Jing clan from taking another step forwards. Otherwise, the Jing clan would also start putting pressure on them. The Jing clan had wild ambitions. Everybody in Qingshan City knew that. Everybody in Qingshan City paid attention to those clans, wondering if the Jing clan would succeed. After Yu Lin and Su Mu arrived, Yu Yi stopped spending time with Lin Feng. Sometimes, Lin Feng saw her with Su Mu, but a new girl had started spending time with them. Yu Xian. Even though Yu Xian wasn't as beautiful as Yu Yi, she was also quite pretty. She looked dainty and delicate, and was also extremely polite. Lin Feng had talked to her, and had realized that she didn't have such a high position within the Yu clan. After Yu Lin had come back, things had changed. Lin Feng wasn't such a lucky find anymore. Of course, Lin Feng didn't care. On the contrary, he actually found Yu Xian more friendly. She was kinder and more honest. When Lin Feng didn't know something, he asked her directly, and she always told him things clearly. Lin Feng, Tantai, and Yu Xian were walking on a path in the Yu clan, and bumped into Yu Yi and Su Mu. When Yu Yi saw Lin Feng, she nodded at him, and then looked away and continued talking to Su Mu. She looked extremely happy. Lin Feng overheard their conversation. Yu Yi wanted to bring Su Mu over to the Yu clan's deployment mine. Yu Yi had seemingly forgotten that she had promised to Lin Feng she would take him to the Yu clan's deployment mine. Of course, Lin Feng didn't care. He cared about Mu Chen. Lin Feng, what do you think? Asked Yu Xian, smiling at Lin Feng and watching the two people passing. They're a perfect match. Su Mu is a genius of the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, and Yu Yi is extremely beautiful. They're perfect for one another, Lin Feng said very naturally. He did think they were a good match. Hi, I thought you'd be jealous, Yu Xian smiled. Why would I be? Said Lin Feng, shrugging and pinching Yu Xian's cheeks, which made her blush. She moved away and glanced at Lin Feng. Haha, you're funnier than Yu Yi, Lin Feng smiled, walking on. Yu Xian looked at Lin Feng's back and muttered, what kind of guy is this? You'll understand soon enough. Tantai laughed, and followed Lin Feng with big strides. Yu Xian looked at the two friends and laughed. She quickly caught up with them and asked, Lin Feng, where are we going? We're going to the Yu clan's deployment mine, said Lin Feng calmly. He was very interested in the deployment mine. Chapter 2098. Deployment Battle in Qingshan City. There were 4 big deployment mines. The 2 biggest ones were the Jing clans and the Yu clans. Many deployment stones were dug out of there. Sometimes, there were even some very strange deployment stones. Deployment mines were extremely important to the families of deployment spellcasters. Therefore, they did all they could to protect them. The Yu clan was no exception. Lin Feng followed Yu Xian, and they eventually arrived in front of a gigantic mine. There were all kinds of strange stone formations formed into hills. Lin Feng realized how vast a deployment mine could be. It was basically a precious mountain range. Even though strong cultivators protected it, some people still managed to sneak in and steal stones sometimes. To such thieves, the Yu clan was ruthless. Lin Feng was standing before a mountain of stones, and reached out to touch them. Some stones had marks. Some of them seemed like they were alive. Cosmic energy kept filtering down. And that was with only 10% of the stones being empowered. How strange. How are they formed? Sighed Lin Feng. There are many precious resources in the continent, such as celestial medicinal herbs. These stones aren't that strange, they're quite natural. Of course, many of these stones are useless. Only 10% of them are useful, replied Yu Xian. Indeed, they're natural, and some of them even have innate deployment marks. Even the impure ones seem to have deployment essence, so it's easy to carve deployment marks on them, Lin Feng said slowly. Yu Xian smiled. Yes, many people from my clan come to practice cultivation here and study deployment spells. At the same time, they use those impure stones to improve their skills. Lin Feng, I'll take you to the purest deployment mine. Yuxian smiled. She grabbed Lin Feng's hand and rose up into the air. After a short time, they arrived in a part of the mine where the cosmic energies were extremely rich and thick. There were all sorts of deployment stones here. Some of them even seemed alive and had a rich vitality, with innate marks on some of them. Some of them had better deployment marks than a great scholar could carve. There are many strange things in the world of cultivation, mused Lin Feng. He walked up to a gigantic black stone with sharp spear marks on it. It contained intense dark cosmic energies, which oozed into the air around it. The spear was covered with deployment marks. It looked alive and real. It was ready to use to study deployment spells. How awesome! Tantai touched the deployment stone. Yuxian kept giggling. She put her hand on it also and cosmic energies pulsed out. A terrifying sharp chi welled up instantly. It felt like the deployment stone could explode at any time. How strong! I guess the Yu clan is ready to do anything to protect the deployment mine, said Lin Feng. Indeed. It is extremely important. Otherwise, my clan wouldn't have called Yu Lin back. They also wanted him to bring a friend back. The Jing clan can't win, replied Yuxian. Lin Feng nodded when he heard her. He would have more chances to join them and make the Jing clan release Mu Qin this way. Lin Feng, your teacher is a great scholar. You must be good at casting deployment spells, right? Asked Yuxian, smiling at Lin Feng. She was curious. I'm all right, said Lin Feng, smiling and shrugging. Yuxian pursed her lips and asked, what does I'm all right mean? As they were talking, suddenly, the whistling of wind cutting came to their ears. Lin Feng, Tantai and Yuxian turned gazed into the distance. A deadly energy dashed to the skies, as if a battle was happening. Some people are trying to plunder the mine. Yuxian was suddenly enlightened and started running. Come, let's go and see. Lin Feng and the two others started running in the direction of the whistling. Many people were in the mine. Two people were having an explosive battle at that moment. Yu Lin. Lin Feng was stupefied. He was also in the deployment mine. Who's fighting against Yu Lin? Jing Ran, an extremely strong young man from the Jing clan. He's an expert in deployment spells, and he's also from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. Yuxian's beautiful eyes were twinkling as she stared at the battle. The two cultivators were fighting indirectly, both standing away from one another, and using deployment spells to fight. Jing Ran took a step forwards, and some parts of the deployment mine exploded. Then he moved his hands rapidly. It looked like he was dancing. He kept carving things in the air with his 5 fingers. Some terrifyingly sharp chi streaked across the sky. The sword chi emitted whistling sounds and shot at Yu Lin. The earth and sky shook violently. Yu Lin grunted icily. He moved his hands and carved a great protection deployment spell. There was a crash and rumbling explosion as their forces met. More pieces of stones exploded and floated around in the air. Haha, brother Yu Lin is extremely strong as expected, said Jing Ran, laughing heroically and loudly. He jumped around insanely and deployment stones kept exploding. Deployment marks kept intertwining with another around him. Die! Shouted Yu Lin explosively. The deployment mine kept exploding. Dust kept rising to the skies. A cloud of dust surrounded Yu Lin. Yu Lin looked at Jing Ran icily. A gigantic golden sword appeared and absorbed chi as Yu Lin shouted furiously. The gigantic sword absorbed what seemed like oceans of energies. Explosions began to erupt for it as it condensed power. The Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry really creates terrifying deployment spellcasters, thought Lin Feng when he saw those two people fight. Their deployment spells were really impressive. It was like they weren't even using their own strength, because they were in a deployment mine. It was a perfect environment to fight using deployment spells. The battle was getting fiercer and fiercer. Lin Feng watched the battle with admiration. He thought, I also study deployment spells. Deployment cultivation is about deployment spells. However, I can't use deployment spells like they can. They make their deployment spells evolve to become direct attacks. They can also carry out various attacks using deployment spells. Of course, all sorts of deployment methods show homology, and the energies show isology. If I studied and tried to make my godly awareness correspond to the cultivation of deployment spells, I would be able to do the same thing and cast deployment spells in the blink of an eye. Watching them battle made him understand lots of things. He also knew how to cast deployment spells, but it was different from these people. These people were also cultivators, but they practiced cultivation in a different tradition. Deployment spells and cultivation were fundamentally the same thing. Lin Feng had the sensation that if he managed to understand celestial deployment spells, he would also be able to become a great deployment master, which came down to being a saint on the path of deployment casting. Is Jing Ran the strongest young man of the Jing clan? Asked Lin Feng. He had the impression that Jing Ran was extremely strong, but that he was still weaker than Yulin. He's not. Yulin can easily oppress Jing Ran. However, the Jing clan does have a terrifying cultivator, Jing Yan. He can easily oppress Yulin. Jing Ran and Jing Yan are both members of the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. They are the two strongest cultivators of the Jing clan. Also, Jing Xiaoyu and the others are also extremely strong. That's why the Jing clan is rising in Qingshan City and wants to invade all the deployment mines, replied Yu Xian seriously. Lin Feng nodded his understanding. No wonder. The Jing clan also had some extremely strong cultivators in the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. Those people were experts in terms of deployment spells, even stronger than he was. They could resort to all kinds of strange tactics to battle. Alright, done for today. We'll exchange views soon again, Brother Yulin, said Jing Ran at that moment, and then he went winging off like a great rock. Jing Ran flew extremely fast, but he saw Lin Feng and the two others. He smiled opportunistically. He stretched out his hand, which crashed into a wall of the deployment mine. Explosions rang out and rock crackled as he made the whole mine shake. Humph! Tantai shouted icily and jumped forwards. However, Yu Xian's expression changed drastically. He didn't use his own strength, he used deployment spells. I'll go. Yu Xian jumped in front of Lin Feng and Tantai. She raised her hands and carved out deployment spells. Even though her deployment spells weren't as good as Jing Ran's, she wasn't a disgrace to the Yu clan. Jing Ran flitted away, and a gigantic spear shot towards her. It contained wind strength, which darkened everything around it as it came at her. Yu Xian pulled a long face. She condensed some defensive strength to carve out a deployment spell. However, at the same time, Lin Feng carved fearsome intertwining deployment marks in front of her. Lin Feng sensed the strength of the deployment mine. It was a perfect place to cast deployment spells, using the deployment essence of the mine. An explosive strength charged towards Yu Xian. Her defensive deployment spell blocked the attack, but it broke apart at the same time. At the same time, Jing Ran suddenly rose up into the air as strength emerged from the ground under his feet. Jing Ran looked at Lin Feng deeply. Even though Lin Feng was behind Yu Xian, Jing Ran knew that he had just intervened. Since when did the Yu clan have such a strong cultivator? Some other people from the Yu clan were astonished. How strong? How come Yu Xian's deployment spells were so powerful? Chapter 2099. Jing Xiaoyu. Yu Xian was stupefied. She hadn't cast that deployment spell. It had come from behind her. I'm sure we'll meet again, said Jing Ran before leaving. Under his feet, more deployment lights appeared, and he flashed away. The members of the Yu clan didn't bother chasing him. Their silhouettes flickered, and they appeared around Yu Xian. Yu Xian, your deployment spell was so powerful, said an old man to Yu Xian. Yes, even though it wasn't distinct, it blocked Jing Ran's attack. How strong? Yu Xian, we haven't spent too much time raising you, and you practiced really hard to become stronger. In the future, we'll give you even more help, said someone else. Yu Xian felt nervous and was surprised. She didn't understand what was going on. But Jing Ran is extremely strong. If the Jing clan focuses on us, it'll be difficult. Indeed, Jing Yan is also studying at the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. Even though we invited Su Mu to come, we can't be sure that the Jing clan hasn't invited anyone either. It'll be difficult. The people of the Yu clan looked nervous and under pressure. They were nervous that the Jing clan was going to focus on them. Should we change the rules of the competition for the deployment mines? Battles of 5 people. That way, we'll have more chances to oppress the Jing clan. If they focus on us, we'll be able to use our full strength. If we join hands with the two other clans, we'll be able to oppress them, said Yulin audaciously. Everybody shivered. Changing the rules? That was audacious, but it was a good solution. We'll have to talk to the two other clans. We'll have to become closely related and mutually dependent. If we don't join hands and the Jing clan destroys us, the next ones will be them, said a member of the Yu clan. Everybody nodded, and they quickly broke up. Yu Yi glanced at Lin Feng and Yu Xian before leaving. Lin Feng was not essential to the Yu clan. They respected him, so if Lin Feng's teacher came, they'd be able to benefit from him. If his teacher didn't come, it didn't matter. Yu Xian turned around and looked at Lin Feng. Her eyes twinkled as she said, "Was it you just now?" Yes, Lin Feng nodded. He didn't hide the truth. If the Yu clan couldn't rely on themselves to oppress the Jing clan, Lin Feng was willing to help. At least, he wanted to oppress the Jing clan as much as he could. When Yu Xian saw him nod, she smiled and said, "Your deployment spells are so powerful?" "I said I was all right," Lin Feng shrugged. He didn't really consider it important. "It's not only all right, why didn't you tell them? They would respect you a bit more," said Yu Xian smiled. "Why would I need them to be even more polite to me? I would feel uneasy," Lin Feng smiled. "You don't need to tell them for now. If they want to give you resources, you can take them. And if they know in the future that it wasn't you, you can tell them I told you to say so they won't be able to take them back. You're a funny guy." Yu Xian smiled at Lin Feng. "But now, I finally believe you when you said you didn't care about Yu Yi going out with Su Mu. You really didn't take it to heart." Lin Feng smiled calmly and said, "Let's go back too." "All right." Yu Xian nodded, and they left the deployment mine. At that moment, outside of the Yu clan's deployment mine, there was a woman calmly standing there and looking at the mine. The woman was wearing simple white clothes, which were fluttering in the wind. She looked simple and elegant and quite beautiful. She definitely stood out. "That girl looks extraordinary," thought Lin Feng when he saw her. Yu Xian stopped. Lin Feng and Tantai stopped too. "What's wrong?" Lin Feng asked her. "You know who she is?" Yu Xian asked, smiling at Lin Feng. "Is she very famous?" said Lin Feng. "She's recently become famous. I admire her. She's talented and beautiful, but she's also a loving woman. She promised her clan that she was going to invade our deployment mine. I know what she's thinking," Yu Xian smiled. Lin Feng was startled as he thought of someone. "Jing Xiaoyu," he asked. "You know her too?" asked Yu Xian, surprised at him. She knew that Lin Feng was from the Dark Night region. How did he know so much about Qingshan City? As expected, thought Lin Feng. Jing Xiaoyu was the woman Mu Chen had fallen in love with. Because of her, Mu Chen was imprisoned in the Black Tower. Did she know that? If she knew. A strong wind started blowing, and suddenly Lin Feng's silhouette disappeared. Yu Xian was shocked. Lin Feng appeared in front Jing Xiaoyu in the distance. Jing Xiaoyu raised her head and looked at Lin Feng calmly. Her white clothes still fluttered in the wind. She looked expressionless. "Jing Xiaoyu?" asked Lin Feng slowly. Jing Xiaoyu took a step forwards and said, "Move away." Lin Feng smiled, but he didn't move, he just stood there calmly. Jing Xiaoyu rose off the ground as it shook violently. The whole mine trembled. Threads of strength emerged from the ground and filled the air. "Be careful," shouted Yu Xian to Lin Feng. Jing Xiaoyu was a genius from the Jing clan, and extremely strong. Even if she wasn't as strong as Jing Yan, who studied at the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, she wasn't much weaker than him. "Don't worry, Lin Feng will not hurt her," whispered Tantai to Yu Xian. "Eh?" Yu Xian's beautiful eyes twinkled. She looked at Tantai and frowned. She wasn't worried that Lin Feng was going to hurt her. Had Yu Xian underestimated Lin Feng? His deployment spells were powerful. But was he also an amazing fighter? Jing Xiaoyu flitted away as a gigantic cage appeared around Lin Feng. Jing Xiaoyu moved again as destructive strength suddenly emerged from the ground. Lin Feng rose up into the air as a spear appeared and shot towards him. Lin Feng shifted forwards and released cosmic energies, bearing down on everything. At the same time, Lin Feng struck the cage with a punch, and it was instantly destroyed. Lin Feng jumped towards Jing Xiaoyu. In response, Jing Xiaoyu released a powerful strength. At the same time, fearsome deployment lights condensed. Milky Way lacerating technique. Yu Xian was stupefied. Jing Xiaoyu moved towards Lin Feng. Both were getting closer and closer to one another. Destructive strength kept gathering to them. Jing Xiaoyu's hand streaked across the sky and a galaxy appeared, cutting the sky in two. Lin Feng released Holy Spirit swords. The swords rotating in the sky and suddenly sliced through everything. The galaxy was sliced apart and disappeared. Lin Feng was now holding a sword which absorbed strength. Yu Xian's heart was pounding. How strong! Lin Feng's fighting abilities were incredible. He might be able to even defeat Yu Lin. Lin Feng's fighting abilities allowed him to compete with the strongest young person of the Yu clan. Who are you? Asked Jing Xiaoyu, staring at Lin Feng. She noticed that Lin Feng was extremely strong. You want to invade the Yu clan's deployment mine? Lin Feng asked Jing Xiaoyu. Jing Xiaoyu frowned and said, Indeed. I will definitely. Mu Chen won't show up. The Jing clan doesn't need you, said Lin Feng indifferently. Jing Xiaoyu frowned and looked nervous. Mu Chen will show up. Even if I fight to death, so what? You don't understand. Go now, said Lin Feng said calmly. He was happy. Jing Xiaoyu didn't know anything, and she was still ready to fight to the death. Jing Xiaoyu stared at Lin Feng and asked, You will stop me? Indeed. Lin Feng nodded. He was going to stop the Jing clan, of course. Jing Xiaoyu pulled a long face as Lin Feng said, No matter who from the Jing clan attacks, they won't manage to get the Yu clan's deployment mine. Mu Chen won't show up either. Leave now. What if he shows up? Said Jing Xiaoyu icily. If he shows up, I'll help the Jing clan steal the deployment mine, said Lin Feng indifferently. Go and tell the Jing clan that if he doesn't show up, not only won't they manage to steal the Yu clan's deployment mine, but they won't be able to protect their own either. When Jing Xiaoyu heard Lin Feng, she didn't understand because she didn't know who Lin Feng was. She also didn't know that Lin Feng and Mu Chen knew one another. Why would he help the Jing clan if Mu Chen showed up? And why would he steal the Jing clan's deployment mine if Mu Chen didn't appear? Jing Xiaoyu didn't understand. Yu Xian didn't understand either. Chapter 2100. The Fast Sword of Qing Shan. Jing Xiaoyu left. She had come to the Yu clan's deployment mine hoping to see Mu Chen. However, she didn't bump into Mu Chen, but bumped into a strange person, Lin Feng. On her way back to the Jing clan, Jing Xiaoyu kept thinking about what Lin Feng had told her. What did it mean? If Mu Chen showed up, he'd help the Jing clan. If he didn't, he'd help the others steal the Jing clan's deployment mine? Xiaoyu. A middle-aged man spoke up at that moment. He looked at Jing Xiaoyu gently. However, Jing Xiaoyu looked back at him in icy anger. Xiaoyu, don't worry. Mu Chen isn't a good match for you. He won't dare show up. The Yu clan will kill the people who try to steal their deployment mine, the middle-aged man said calmly. However, Jing Xiaoyu just looked at him icily. Today, I went to the Yu clan and I ran into someone. A strange person, said Jing Xiaoyu emotionlessly to the middle-aged man. A young man, he was very strange. He told me to tell the Jing clan that on the day of the deployment mine competition, if Mu Chen showed up, he'd help the Jing clan steal the deployment mine. And if Mu Chen didn't show up, he'd help the others steal the Jing clan's deployment mine. When the middle-aged man heard that, he frowned angrily and said, Who is that person? I don't know him. He's extremely strong. I hope there aren't implications, said Jing Xiaoyu icily before she left. The middle-aged man looked furious. Blade-sharp lights flashed in his eyes as he whispered, Does the Yu clan think they can still prevent us from taking their deployment mine? In the eyes of the Jing clan, the Yu clan's deployment mine was already theirs. After Jing Xiaoyu left, Lin Feng and Yu Xian left too. Yu Xian was still astonished. She glanced at Lin Feng secretly now and then. Why are you looking at me? Lin Feng smiled. The more I look at you, the less I understand you. Tantai was right. I will soon understand. Yu Xian smiled. Jing Xiaoyu is a genius of the Jing clan, and extremely strong. However, in front of you, she didn't look strong. If you fight against her on the day of the deployment mine competition, I'm sure you could easily steal theirs. And did you really mean what you said to Jing Xiaoyu? What then? Asked Lin Feng smiling. If Mu Chen shows up, will you really help the Jing clan against the 3 clans? I will, said Lin Feng nodding. Well then, I hope Mu Chen won't show up. Yu Xian smiled cheerfully. Lin Feng looked at her strangely. Do you really believe I will help the Jing clan steal the 3 other clans' deployment mines? Tantai said I'd understand you sooner or later. Maybe I will, said Yu Xian, giving a non-committal reply with a cheeky grin. Lin Feng, Tantai, and Yu Xian went back to Yu clan. The Yu clan was as before, getting ready for the deployment mine competition. The 3 clans of Qingshan City had had several occasions to act, but in the end they had come to a compromise, the competition. At each competition, there would be 5 battles. When there were 3 winners, they won the deployment mine. People who had fought already couldn't fight again. That was good for the Yu clan, as even though the Jing clan was strong, they didn't have that many geniuses. The day of the competition for the deployment mines finally arrived. The location was where the 4 deployment mines were. The winners would take control over the loser's mine. The Yu clan's strong cultivators had gathered together. Yu Lin and Su Mu were at the head of the group. This battle was too important for the Yu clan. If they lost, they would lose their deployment mine, and the Jing clan would take control of it. Yu Lin, Su Mu, you are the 2 most important elements of this battle. A group of old men said to Su Mu and Yu Lin. We will definitely win this battle, Yu Lin nodded. Alright, let's go. The first battle of the Jing clan is over the deployment mine of the Feng clan. Let's go to the Feng clan to see first, said an elder. The group of people rose up into the air, the crowd looking at Yu Lin, Su Mu, and Yu Yi. They were mounted on unicorns and looked majestic. Lin Feng, Tantai, and Yu Xian were following behind them. Yu Kuan noticed Lin Feng and the others. His eyes twinkled and he smiled. Lin Feng, little boy, you're now used to staying in the Yu clan. I hope Yu Xian is taking good care of you? Yes, Yu Xian is great, said Lin Feng, smiling and nodding. Very good. You've been here for so many days. Has your teacher been looking for you? Asked Yu Kuan. Soon. I'm sure that you will see him soon, replied Lin Feng. Very good. I hope he can teach us some things. Besides, you know that today is the deployment mine competition. The 4 big clans are going to fight. So today you can watch and learn, said Yu Kuan politely. He didn't disdain Lin Feng, but the competition was between 4 powerful groups, so he was convinced that Lin Feng, who knew a few deployment spells, would learn some things. That's what I thought, replied Lin Feng. Yu Kuan didn't say much, and left with the others for the Feng clan. At the Feng clan's deployment mine, there were many nervous people. The members of the Jing clan had arrived already. Apart from people of the Feng clan, there were observers from all 4 powerful clans. The second deployment mine the Jing clan wanted was that of the Wen clan. They wanted the deployment mines of all other 3 clans. Apart from the clans, there were many strong cultivators from Qingshan City who had come to watch. This competition would determine the fate of Qingshan City. Ho Qinglin and his group were with the group of people from the Feng clan. The members of the Feng clan were very polite to Ho Qinglin and the others. After all, they were willing to help them protect their deployment mine. At that moment, the strong cultivators of the Feng clan walked forwards. Some illusion marks appeared around them. Welcome to the Feng clan's deployment mine. Please be seated, waved a strong cultivator of the Feng clan. Seats rose up into the air and moved around in a perfect formation for people to sit. Apart from their own strength, they could also use the power of the deployment mines. After today, the deployment mine might not belong to the Feng clan anymore. A strong cultivator of the Jing clan said provocatively at that moment. Who will the 5 fighters of the Jing clan be? Asked the strong cultivator of the Feng clan. According to the rules, since we made a concession, you have to choose first, said the strong cultivator of the Jing clan slowly. 5 battles, they weren't going to say who was going to fight. The Feng clan needed to select their fighters first. It was going to be difficult for them. The Jing clan could choose their fighters depending on the fighters chosen by the Feng clan. Jing Yan, Jing Ran, and Jing Xiaoyu haven't shown up. They won't fight here. They don't care about the Feng clan. The pressure is all on us, said Yu Kuan to Yulin and the others. Yulin nodded and said, Uncle Kuan, if Jing Yan and the others show up on our battlefield, it'll be difficult. We'll have to give up our deployment mine and try to steal theirs. I think so too. The Jing clan invited many extremely strong people. They are willing to do all they can for the Jing clan. It will be difficult for the Feng clan to protect their deployment mine as well, said Yu Kuan calmly. He glanced at the members of the Jing clan. They looked calm and collected, as if they had everything under control. From this day on, there would be tremendous changes in Qingshan City. Everybody looked at the Feng clan's members, wondering who they were going to choose. At that moment, a young man came out, wearing gray clothes and with a sword in his back. He looked simple and clean. However, he looked as sharp as a sword, as if nobody could stop him. Who's that person? I've never seen him, whispered some people in the crowd. The man was a stranger. Some members of the Jing clan frowned. They had seen that person before, but they didn't remember where. The Jing clan had to win the first battle. The Jing clan sent out a strong cultivator, wearing a bamboo hat, who slowly walked out of the crowd. He landed on the deployment mine's ground, looking mysterious. He raised his hand and took off his hat, revealing his deathly pale face. The fast sword of Qingshan. When the crowd saw him, they frowned. That really pale young man was a hero in town, a terrifying sword cultivator. The fast sword of Qingshan was a feared sword cultivator in Qingshan City. His sword attacks were unprecedentedly fast. Very few people could invite him, but the Jing clan had managed to. When the members of the Feng clan saw him, they frowned nervously. Was the Jing clan's goal really the Yu clan? Chapter 2101. One sword. The fast sword of Qingshan was a young man known to be the fastest sword cultivator of his generation. People didn't recall his name anymore. They just called him the fast sword of Qingshan. When they saw him, they all felt oppressed. People looked at the members of the Feng clan with compassion. Unfortunately for them, the fast sword of Qingshan was merciless and emotionless. He liked to kill. The fast sword of Qingshan? Lin Feng looked interested when he heard that name. Unfortunately, Jian Meng wasn't there, or this guy would have seen an even faster sword. Of course, could Wuxia's swords be slower? Who do you think will win? Yu Xian asked when she saw Lin Feng's broad smile. The fast sword of Qingshan will lose, Lin Feng declared firmly. Yu Xian looked at him strangely, giggling, not believing him at all. The fast sword of Qingshan was famous. In terms of basic cultivation, not deployment spells, he was even stronger than Yu Lin. And now Lin Feng was saying that the fast sword of Qingshan was going to lose? The two fighters remained silent on the ground of the deployment mine. They were staring at one another. A cold wind brushed against them. Sword intent rose up sharp and cold. The fast sword of Qingshan started moving towards Wuxia. He wasn't that fast, but he was stable. There was a seemingly ordinary sword in his hand. Real sword cultivators used rather plain swords. When he used his sword, there weren't dazzling lights. It didn't make the earth and sky shake either. Sword cultivators had just one thing in mind: to kill their opponent as fast as possible. Wuxia was the same, and fought the same way. His sword attacks were fast, and he wanted to kill his opponents as quickly as possible. The atmosphere became oppressive. People gulped down when they saw the two fighters start moving, staring at the two of them. The members of the Feng clan were very nervous. When the fast sword of Qingshan appeared, they understood that the Jing clan was truly sly and evil. They didn't intend to take only the Yu clan's deployment mine. Otherwise, the fast sword of Qingshan wouldn't have appeared here. The Feng clan couldn't lose this battle. However, could Wuxia win? The fast sword of Qingshan finally attacked, dazzling lights appearing. He wasn't running fast, but his sword was quick. A light beam of cosmic energy appeared. People couldn't follow it with their eyes. Wuxia's sword also appeared. It looked slower than his opponent's, especially at the time of unsheathing. The crowd could already imagine the fast sword of Qingshan's cutting apart Wuxia. Wuxia's sword looked slower because the fast sword of Qingshan released his really fast. In the blink of an eye, two light beams appeared between them. They were both standing there motionless. There was no blood. The crowd didn't even see the sword energies. Some people frowned. A cold wind soughed. A silhouette suddenly turned to dust and vanished. People's hearts suddenly started pounding. How was that possible? The fast sword of Qing Shan had lost. Not only had he lost, but he had also died. The opponent, who was wearing a simple gray cloak, slowly turned around and went back to the group of people from the Feng clan. The crowd came back to their senses and realized what had happened. Phew! The strong cultivators of the Feng clan all took deep breaths. Good, Wuxia is extremely strong. Many strong cultivators from the Feng clan stood up, looking pleasantly surprised. They knew that Wuxia was extremely strong, but they had not thought he was that strong. He had killed the fast sword of Qing Shan in the blink of an eye, and everybody knew how strong that guy was. If he hadn't died, then Wuxia would have died. That was the normal result of a battle between two sword cultivators: death. Many people from the Jing clan had long faces. They had thought they'd definitely win. But in the end, the fast sword of Qing Shan had been crushed. It meant that the Feng clan could now choose their fighters, according to which fighter the Jing clan would choose. The fast sword of Qing Shan surprisingly lost. Who was that guy? Many people from the Yu clan were staring at Wuxia. Surprisingly, the Feng clan had such a terrifying cultivator? Yu Xian looked at Lin Feng strangely. She couldn't believe her eyes. How did you know? Asked Yu Xian. I can't say it in front of everyone, said Lin Feng, smiling mysteriously. Yu Xian felt even more curious. Couldn't he tell her telepathically? Why did he need to be so vague? But she had no choice but to accept it. Lin Feng whispered in Yu Xian's ears. Because he's my fellow disciple. Yu Xian was stupefied. She looked at Lin Feng meaningfully. This guy is so strong. How many secrets does he have? She remembered what Lin Feng had said. If Mu Chen showed up, he'd help the Jing clan. If Mu Chen didn't show up, he'd help the others take the Jing clan's deployment mines. Did he really mean it? Now 4 battles are left. The Feng clan will be able to choose their fighter, according to which fighter the Jing clan is going to choose. The Feng clan could possibly win this battle, Yu Kuan said calmly. Everybody nodded in agreement. The Feng clan wasn't as strong as the Jing clan or the Yu clan, but they were a powerful clan after all, and also had some terrifyingly strong young people. If the Jing clan didn't select their strongest fighters, the Feng clan could definitely win. Since they had won the first battle, they had an even better chance to win the second one. The Jing clan chose Jing Qiong. He is only inferior to Jing Xiaoyu. With his deployment spells, he's extremely strong. The crowd murmured when they saw the second fighter chosen by the Jing clan. When they saw the fighter chosen by the Feng clan, they all came to the same conclusion. The result of the battle was already sure. The Feng clan chose their strongest genius, Feng Yi. They had to win. As the crowd had expected, the Feng clan won the second battle. The Jing clan had already lost 2 battles. The Feng clan had been sure to win with Feng Yi. Since the Jing clan can't choose their fighters first anymore, they have lost the game, was the general consensus. Those who won the first battle gained the initiative in such battles, so the first battle was decisive. If the Jing clan had won the first battle, they would have been able to choose anyone for the second battle. Even if they lost, it wouldn't have mattered. They could have won the third one easily. But everything depended on the first battle. The Jing clan randomly selected a fighter for the third battle. They had already given up on the Feng clan's deployment mine. They needed to keep their strongest cultivators back. They'd try to get the Wen clan's mine. We won. The members of the Feng clan were relieved. The reason why they had chosen Feng Yi for the second battle was that they still had Ho Qinglin behind him, and he was Wuxia's fellow disciple. It seemed that Wuxia respected Ho Qinglin a lot, which meant that Ho Qinglin was probably as strong or even stronger than him. It seemed that they had already won, but they remained vigilant anyway. Brother Ho, Brother Wuxia, thank you very much. In the future, if you need anything, please ask us. A strong Feng clan cultivator said to Ho Qinglin and Wuxia, bowing and smiling. When they had seen the fast sword of Qing Shan come out, they had felt great pressure. Luckily, Wuxia had won. The Jing clan had lost 3 times in a row, and had decided to give up on their territory. Now that the Feng clan had won, the Wen clan was under pressure. The Jing clan was also determined to take their territory. The Jing clan had chosen the fast sword of Qing Shan for their first battle, and had lost, but it made them even more determined to win. The strongest cultivators they had kept for the Feng clan hadn't fought in the end, so they had kept those strong cultivators back for the Wen clan. The Wen clan was now under pressure. Many people looked at Tianqi and the others. They hoped they'd help, like Wuxia had done for the Feng clan. The members of the Jing clan rose up into the air and headed towards the Wen clan. They hadn't managed to take the Feng clan's deployment mine. Would they manage to take the Wen clan's? The Jing clan had lost control. The Wen clan didn't control events anymore either. Nobody knew that a mysterious young man, who had spent time in the Yu clan, had plotted against the Jing clan. From Tiantai, only Wuxia had fought already. Ho Qinglin hadn't even needed to fight. The Wen clan felt pressured, and Tiantai's disciples knew that the pressure was present, but they were also convinced that protecting the 3 deployment mines would be no problem at all. Chapter 2102. Desperation. The place for the second round of battles was the Wen clan's deployment mine. Once again, many people were watching in the distance. The members of the Jing clan looked sullen and angry. They had lost the first round. They had to win this time around. Who is sure to win the first battle? A strong cultivator of the Jing clan asked the people behind him. Wait and see. The Wen clan will choose someone first. We'll choose accordingly. Someone else responded. All right, no matter what, we must obtain the Wen clan's deployment mine. As the members of the Jing clan were talking, the members of the Wen clan were also talking and planning. Finally, the first fighter they sent out was Wen Yi, one of the strongest young people of the Wen clan. However, when the members of the Jing clan saw him, they smiled. The first battle was going to be easy for them. The Wen clan was probably desperate. They were going to sacrifice one of their people to inspect how strong the Jing clan's cultivators were. The Jing clan chose someone wearing a plaited bamboo hat and a cloak. He jumped up onto the battle stage. People shivered. Another mysterious, strange cultivator. In the Feng clan, nobody cared, but now, the crowd understood that it was another cultivator the Jing clan had invited. It's Prince Lu. When he uses his hook, he easily beheads people. Wen Yi is doomed, thought the crowd. Wen Yi, if you can't win, get down off the battle stage, shouted some strong cultivator from the Wen clan. Wen Yi nodded. Prince Lu rose up into the air. A grinding vortex spun towards him. However, his hook spirit emerged from the vortex and shot towards Wen Yi's head. At the same time, a pair of eyes appeared at the hook spirit. Wen Yi retreated quickly. At the same time, he kept casting deployment spells to protect himself. He jumped off the battle stage very quickly, stopping the fight quickly. A defeat didn't matter. His life was more important. The Jing clan won this round. The Wen clan is under pressure, thought the crowd. The Jing clan had the initiative. The Jing clan had paid the price to win. They had invited some of the strongest cultivators available in the region. That way, they could keep back the strongest cultivators of the Jing clan to fight against the members of the Yu clan. Everybody knew that the Yu clan was the Jing clan's main target. They really wanted the Yu clan's deployment mine, which was the second best after their own. For the second battle, the Jing clan sent out a cultivator of their own clan. The Wen clan had to choose the second strongest cultivator of their clan. Even if they lost that battle, the Jing clan didn't mind. As long as they managed to win 3 battles, it was enough to gain control over the deployment mine. At that moment, they were waiting for the second fighter of the Wen clan. On the Wen clan's side, a sadhu came out. He had a grounded and beneficent priestly demeanor about him. Who's that? Thought many people. They had never seen this cultivator in Qingshan City, and the Wen clan couldn't possibly have Buddhist or Taoist cultivators. Did they keep their strongest cultivators for the last 2 battles? The Jing clan hasn't used their trump cards yet. Even if the Wen clan kept their strongest cultivators for the last 2 battles, the Jing clan will still win. Do you think the Wen clan, like the Feng clan, could have some unexpectedly strong cultivators and win the battle? People were gossiping. The Jing clan was hesitant. Who was the best cultivator they could choose for this battle? We can choose Jing Nan, Jing Bei, or him. He can't fight before winning the second round, so Jing Bei and Jing Nan, get ready to fight, ordered a middle-aged man of the Jing clan. The strongest cultivator of the Wen clan hadn't fought yet. Therefore, they couldn't use their trump cards. Otherwise nobody would be able to fight against the strongest cultivator of the Wen clan. They didn't know whether the Wen clan had some secret strong cultivators left or not. They had to keep their trump cards just in case. "I'll go," said Jingnan calmly. "This fight is very important, I'll go." "All right, you go," agreed the Jing clan's strong cultivator with a nod. "It's Jingnan, can Ban Rua win?" asked the strong cultivator of the Wen clan nervously. If they lost, the Wen clan would probably be in a difficult situation. He didn't know that Tianqi and Jian Meng could easily protect their deployment mine. Jingnan and Ban Rua were going to fight. Jingnan controlled deployment spells and some special spells. He had terrifying fighting abilities. Ban Rua hadn't changed. His Buddha's halo could illuminate all things. He could turn into a wrathful Buddha. And his body was as hard as diamond. At the same time, he also had a blue Uptala lotus, which enabled him to purify the 10,000 things of creation. And he could punish people with his sword. He didn't even need to move to purify and punish evil cultivators. He also knew the Sapta Adi Buddha Karasaniya Thurni mantra, which resonated with the earth and sky. After a short time, Jingnan couldn't handle him anymore. Blood splashed and he was hurled away. He suffered a crushing defeat. Phew, how strong! The crowd was amazed. That Buddhist cultivator was extremely strong. Among people who didn't understand Tao, few people could defeat him. The Jing clan was a powerful clan of deployment spellcasters, but only a few people of their people understood Tao. Not many of their people could defeat someone like Ban Rua. Good Master Ban Rua is extremely strong. The strong cultivators of the Wen clan were all smiling broadly. The Wen clan felt grateful and confident again with Ban Rua's victory. The members of the Jing clan all had long faces again. Could it be that they would fail to gain control over the Wen clan's deployment mine also? "I'll fight this one." A silhouette flickered and landed on the battle stage of the deployment mine. Qi pulsed around him. "I'll go and defeat him," declared someone on the Wen clan's side, releasing Qi which dashed to the skies. Everybody frowned. That was the first cultivator of the Wen clan, Wen Ting. Wen Ting good. When the members of the Jing clan saw Wen Ting come out, their eyes glittered with cold lights. They had to defeat Wen Ting, otherwise, there would be no hope. Wen Ting. The members of the Wen clan looked nervous. They had the sensation the Jing clan had planned to send someone terrifyingly strong. But Wen Ting was already on the battle stage, and they could not change the fighter anymore. The Jing clan sent another cultivator, wearing a plaited bamboo hat and a cloak. When he took off his hat, the members of the Wen clan all grimaced. Xueqiu, he controlled blood strength. Wen Ting was in danger. If the Wen clan had known, they would have sent Wen Ting for the following battle. How stupid. But now, all they could do was hope that Wen Ting would defeat Xueqiu. Xueqiu and Wen Ting both understood Dao strength. Xueqiu was more famous than the fast sword of Qing Shan. Wen Ting was the strongest cultivator of his generation in the Wen clan. Nobody could be sure of the end of the battle. As they started fighting, pieces of stones started exploding all around them. In terms of strength, Xueqiu was stronger than Wen Ting. But Wen Ting also controlled deployment spells, so the result of the battle was uncertain. Most people thought that Wen Ting would lose. "You want to bring about your own destruction," whispered the members of the Jing clan, staring at Wen Ting and smiling icily. They had thought they'd lose these duels, but in the end, they had hope again. As expected, Xueqiu defeated Wen Ting. Wen Ting was driven off the battle stage and coughed up blood. At that moment, someone burst into laughter loudly. A strong cultivator of the Jing clan said indifferently, "Last battle. The Wen clan is going to choose someone." When the members of the Wen clan heard that, they all grit their teeth. Wen Ting felt guilty. He was bleeding and his face had turned deathly pale. "Go back and heal," a strong Wen clan cultivator of the Wen clan told him. He was disappointed. At such a cultivation level, acting so impulsively was stupid. "Who should we choose for this battle?" "Master Tianqi, we can only rely on you now." Wen Ting to Tianqi. Wen Ting had lost. They needed to win this one. Losing their deployment mine would likely result in their clan falling. He knew how strong Tianqi was. At this moment, the Wen clan could only put all their hopes on Tianqi. Nobody could compete with Tianqi in the Wen clan. Don't worry. Tianqi jumped forwards and landed on the deployment mine's battle stage. When the crowd saw yet another Buddhist cultivator, they frowned. The Jing clan was suddenly less excited as well. Another strong cultivator from the outside? After the previous fights, they weren't relaxed at all. Jing Bei, we also have to fight against the Yu clan after this. So this battle is for you, said the strong cultivators of the Jing clan to Jing Bei. He had to win this battle, and the deployment mine would be theirs. All right. Jing Bei took a deep breath and released his qi. He jumped forwards and threw himself at Tianqi, a cloud of qi pulsing around him. The wind roared and whipped the sky into a fury. Wind and clouds, cosmic energies. He controls both cosmic energies. When he's here, clouds appear and a strong wind starts blowing. A great pressure bore down on Tianqi. The members of the Jing clan were all nervous. They had to win this battle. Tianqi's body turned into golden lights which contained aspects of all things. He looked like an ancient Buddha, lofty like a mountain. Inside the golden lights, millions of ancient Buddhas appeared. Tianqi put his palms together and started chanting mantras, which people could hear thousands of li away. Good. The Wen clan's strong cultivators' eyes started twinkling when they saw this. They had hope again. Clouds appeared and a strong wind started blowing. Cosmic energies roared out. Yet millions of Buddha's hands appeared and drove towards Tianqi, grinding down on him. Their energies blotted out the sky. Tianqi looked majestic and lofty, wise and indestructible. Their energies collided, and the clouds broke apart. The wind stopped. Jing Bei was smashed away a few li. The members of the Jing clan were astonished, and their hearts started pounding. It was like they had fallen from heaven to hell. They were desperate. They hadn't managed to take the Wen clan's deployment mine either. Chapter 2103. Admitting their defeat, the strong cultivators of the Wen clan took deep breaths. They couldn't describe how they felt. They couldn't imagine what would have happened if Tianqi had failed. Apart from their own cultivators, the Jing clan had invited many other people, including some extremely strong cultivators. Unfortunately, the Wen clan had also invited some incredibly strong cultivators. When Tianqi had stepped on the battle stage, they had thought they still had a chance to win, but now they knew it was over. Tianqi went back to the group of people from the Wen clan. Many strong cultivators from the Wen clan stood up and bowed before Tianqi and Ban Ruo. They were so happy, they said. Thank you very much for your help. If you need anything, we'll do our best to help you. The deployment mine was extremely important to them. The two had managed to protect it. The Jing clan's cultivators looked glum. They had lost again. They hadn't managed to take either of the lesser clan's deployment mines. They were also staring at Tianqi and Ban Ruo. Who were those strangers? Where were they from? Even people who weren't from the Jing clan were wondering who those people were. Everybody had noticed Ban Ruo and Tianqi in the last fight. They had seen Wuxia. These extremely strong cultivators had never been seen in Qingshan City before. With their strength, people would have definitely noticed them in Qingshan City. Everything was so mysterious. The members of the Yu clan were extremely happy. They had made an alliance with the Feng clan and the Wen clan, and those two clans had managed to protect their deployment mines. They were also worried at the same time. The Jing clan might do all they could, using their last trump cards to take their own deployment mine. If the Yu clan failed, the Jing clan would definitely suppress them. They couldn't fail either, just like the Yu clan and the Wen clan. See you at the Yu clan's deployment mine, said the members of the Jing clan as they stood up. They rolled up their sleeves and left quickly. Everybody was watching them as they left, and they were under pressure. The Jing clan would definitely use their full strength to take this last deployment mine. It was their last, and thus most important battle, since they hadn't managed to take the others. Everybody knew that the Jing clan hadn't made their two strongest cultivators fight yet. People from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, Jing Ran and Jing Yan. Who were they going to fight against? Let's go. The members of the Yu clan looked nervous. Their silhouettes flickered and everyone followed them. The next round of battles was going to happen at their deployment mine. Brother Ho, Brother Wuxia, let's go and watch. The members of the Feng clan offered Ho Qinglin and Wuxia politely. Ho Qinglin nodded. Of course he wanted to watch. The members of the Wen clan also asked Tianqi and Ban Rua to come with them and watch. Everybody was going to the Yu clan's deployment mine to watch the battles. The next round of battles was going to be amazing. There were many people at the Yu clan's deployment mine. The crowd noticed Jing Yan and the others arriving. They were all there, including Jing Xiaoyu. Everybody watched the members of the Yu clan as well. They noticed Yu Lin, who was also a member of the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, and had come back. Yu Yi, who was quite talented, was there too, as well as some others. Apart from them, there were some strong cultivators from Qingshan City the Yu clan had invited. No need to talk too much. Yu clan, choose a fighter first, said the leader of the group of people from the Jing clan. They had lost the first 2 rounds of battles. They were very nervous and on edge. Jing Xiaoyu gazed into the distance. She couldn't see Mu Chen. She looked disappointed. He wasn't going to show up? Xiaoyu, don't wait for him. If I see him in Qingshan City, I'll kill him personally. You almost wasted your life for him, said Jing Yan, who was standing next to Jing Xiaoyu. Indeed, Xiaoyu, Mu Chen will not show up. This time, it'll be a battle to death. If he shows up, we'll kill him, said someone else. Jing Xiaoyu remained silent. She looked at the members of the Yu clan and noticed Lin Feng. What had he been trying to tell her? Lin Feng sensed something. He gazed into the distance and noticed Jing Xiaoyu too. He nodded at her, which made her eyes twinkle. She had some kind of premonition that Lin Feng knew Mu Chen. Yu Lin, what do you think for the first battle? Yu Kuan asked Yu Lin. That round of battle was too important for them. They had to be vigilant, they had no choice. We'll have to choose people first for the first 3 battles. Su Mu and I can definitely win 2 battles. If anyone else can win, that would be perfect, whispered Yu Lin. He looked solemn and serious because apart from Jing Yan and Jing Ran, he had noticed someone else on the Jing clan's side. They had invited someone else from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. The Jing clan had 3 people from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. Apart from Su Mu, they had also invited someone else who understood Dao strength. The main issue was that they had to pick their fighters first. Yu Yi, you go and try first, said a strong cultivator of the Yu clan to Yu Yi. Yu Yi is extremely strong. However, the Jing clan will do all they can. Yu Yi will definitely lose, everyone thought. A strong wind started blowing. Jing Ran landed on the battle stage. The crowd already considered he had won the battle when they saw him. Jing Ran was from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. Yu Yi couldn't possibly win. And that was how it ended up. Yu Yi lost really quickly. Jing clan relied on deployment strength to oppress her, and then overwhelmed her, even injuring her. The Jing clan only had to win 3 battles with their cultivators from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. For the second battle, the Jing clan sent a strong cultivator they had invited. The Yu clan sent the only person they had invited from Qingshan City, who understood Dao strength. They won. 2 battles, 1 victory, 1 defeat. Everybody was tense and nervous. Third battle, who was the Yu clan going to choose? If we lose this battle, we'll have to win the 2 others. But nobody can oppress Jing Yan, was the opinion of the strong cultivators of the Yu clan. It wasn't about courage and determination anymore. Without strong cultivators, and without the possibility to choose according to the opposite clan's fighter, it was extremely difficult. Lin Feng looked at the members of the Wen clan. He looked at Tianqi, they nodded at one another. A strong wind started blowing. A cultivator moved towards the Yu clan's members quickly. It was Xingzhan. A terrifying bestial qi invaded the atmosphere around him. He looked like a war beast. If the Yu clan trusts me, I am willing to help the Yu clan, said Xingzhan indifferently. Everybody frowned. Yu Kuan looked at the members of the Wen clan, and a strong cultivator of the Wen clan said, Brother Yu, he's one of Master Tianqi's fellow disciples who came to help us. You can trust him. When Yu Kuan heard this, his eyes twinkled. He had seen how strong Tianqi was. All right, since you're willing to help, we accept and we're moved. If you win, we'll be incredibly grateful. Please go ahead then, Your Excellency, said the strong cultivators of the Yu clan. Xingzhan nodded and jumped onto the battle stage. The members of the Jing clan all had unsightly expressions. Tianqi's fellow disciple? He was from abroad too. Why were all these people plotting against the Jing clan? Thanks for helping, brother, said Jing Yan, nodding at the strong cultivator next to him. It was his fellow disciple. He was extremely strong, and also an excellent deployment spellcaster. He had to win. On the side of the Wen clan, a strong cultivator warned Tianqi. That guy is from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. He understands Dao strength, and his deployment spells are terrifying. He's extremely strong. Apart from him, is Jing Yan also from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry? Asked Tianqi. Indeed, the strong cultivator of the Wen clan nodding. He didn't know why Tianqi asked, but he replied anyway. I understand, said Tianqi nodding. He looked at the battle stage and relayed that to Xingzhan telepathically. Your Excellency, please, said the strong cultivator on the battle stage to Xingzhan. However, Xingzhan smiled and said, I give up. Then, he jumped off the battle stage and went back to the group of people from the Wen clan. When the crowd saw that, they were all astonished. The members of the Wen clan, the Jing clan, and the Yu clan were astonished. He just gave up. After that, the members of the Yu clan all looked quite pissed. Brother Wen, what is this supposed to mean? Exclaimed a strong cultivator of the Yu clan to the members of the Wen clan. He looked furious. The members of the Wen clan looked at Tianqi and grimaced. Why had Tianqi done that? Tianqi looked calm as he looked back at the members of the Yu clan. He said, there are 2 more battles. Don't get angry. The Jing clan only has 2 fighters left. Even if the Jing clan takes the Yu clan's deployment mine, we'll help the Yu clan get it back. When the members of the Jing clan heard that, their smiles stiffened. Indeed, they had no great fighters left. If they stole the Yu clan's deployment mine, those people would cause trouble and help their opponents get it back? At that time, how would they solve the situation? Chapter 2104. Mu Chen's name. Who are those people and what do they want to do? Many people were asking. A short time before, they had helped the Wen clan keep their deployment mine. They were extremely strong. After that, they had come to the Yu clan, and when everybody thought they were going to help the Yu clan, surprisingly, one of them gave up. Were they plotting against the Yu clan? 3 duels had taken place, and the Jing clan had won 2 of them. 1 more, and they'd win and take the Yu clan's deployment mine. The strongest cultivator of the Jing clan, Jing Yan, hadn't fought yet. Who would be able to compete with him? Therefore, even if Tianqi said they'd take the Jing clan's deployment mine, the members of the Yu clan were still angry, and all looked unsightly. If they didn't manage to keep their own deployment mine, how would they be able to take the Jing clans? What about the Wen clan and the Feng clan? If they didn't share a part of the profits, how would the Yu clan be able to keep the Jing clan under control? The Yu clan tried to think of a solution, but they felt desperate, as if they had already lost. They were almost certain they couldn't win both of the last 2 battles. 4th battle, said a strong cultivator of the Jing clan at that moment. A strong cultivator jumped onto the battle stage. This time, the Jing clan didn't make Jing Yan fight because they still had hope. They hoped they would not need to make him fight. They hoped to take the deployment mine after the 4th duel. That way, they would still have some trump cards in case the 3 other clans joined hands to take their deployment mine. However, the Yu clan couldn't give the Jing clan such an opportunity. They sent Su Mu from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry for that battle, and won it. They had both won 2 duels now. It was time for the last fight. For this battle, the Yu clan sent Yulin. The Jing clan sent Jing Yan. They were both terrifying deployment spellcasters. Their battle would determine who would get an extra deployment mine. Yulin, we can only rely on you now, said the strong cultivators of the Yu clan. Yulin was their last hope. This battle would be extremely difficult, but they couldn't afford to lose. Actually, Jing Yan was stronger than Yulin. He shouldn't lose either. Therefore, The Yu clan had the impression they had already lost their deployment mine. Thinking about that, the members of the Yu clan all felt depressed. Were they going to lose a deployment mine they had owned for thousands of years? Yulin took a deep breath. He had to fight. He had no other choice. He had to use his full strength. Jingyan was staring at him. Wait! When Yulin started heading to the battle stage, Tianqi spoke up from the group of people from the Wen clan. The Yu clan frowned and looked over at him icily. What did that guy want? A moment before, because of him, they had lost a battle. Tianqi ignored Yulin's expression and ran over to the people of the Jing clan. Will Mu Chen show up? Tianqi asked the members of the Jing clan. When Jing Xiaoyu heard him, she was stupefied. The situation was more complex than she had expected. Why had Lin Feng asked about Mu Chen? And now why was this guy asking about him? Did they know something about Mu Chen? The strong cultivators of the Jing clan frowned. The Jing clan had publicly announced that Mu Chen had left and didn't dare show up. But actually he had been imprisoned by them. He was in their black tower. They couldn't say that, of course. It's Mu Chen's problem. What does that have to do with the Jing clan? Retorted a strong cultivator of the Jing clan icily. If Mu Chen shows up, we won't get involved in your deployment mine competition. If you are sure that Mu Chen won't show up, we'll use our full strength to help the Yu, Wen and Feng clans take your deployment mine. Warned Tianqi. He sounded neither angry nor happy, quite calm and composed. When the members of the Jing clan heard him, they all frowned and looked unhappy. Insolent, said a strong cultivator of the Jing clan icily. Jing Yin shouted coldly. If you want to fight, I'll fight against you. Tianqi remained silent and nodded. Then he turned around and looked back at the people from the Feng clan. Ho Qing Lin, Wuxia, and the others came out of their group and rose up in the air. They said to the members of the Feng clan, "We'll help the members of the Feng clan take the Jing clan's deployment mine. Does the Feng clan agree?" They are together. When everyone saw that, they frowned. Those strangers who were extremely talented were a group. At that moment, everybody understood something abnormal was going on. The eyes of the Feng clan's members twinkled. Many people stood up and looked at Ho Qing Lin and said, "Brother Ho, do you know them?" Ruoxia Tianqi, and the others are my fellow disciples, said Ho Qing Lin calmly. The eyes of the Feng clan's members glittered. Ruoxia and Tianqi were extremely strong. They had seen that with their own eyes. They were all Ho Qing Lin's fellow disciples. If Ruoxia and the others respected Ho Qing Lin that much, it meant that Ho Qing Lin was even more terrifying than they were. When they thought about that, the members of the Feng clan were excited. If they agreed, they might be able to take the Feng clan's deployment mine. Alright, today is our deployment mine competition. Since you, Brother Ho, want to help us, we are naturally ready to use our full strength to take their deployment mine, replied the strong cultivators of the Feng clan happily. Ho Qing Lin nodded at Tianqi, and Tianqi looked at the members of the Wen clan. We all agree to help the Wen clan take the Jing clan's deployment mine too. What does the Wen clan think? Asked Tianqi as well. We agree, of course, replied the strong cultivators of the Wen clan, smiling broadly. How could they refuse? At that moment, the members of the Jing clan all looked very upset. Those people were plotting against them. Jing Yan, no matter what, you have to win this battle and obtain the Yu clan's deployment mine, said the strong cultivators of the Jing clan. They had the feeling that losing their deployment mine was suddenly a possibility. They hadn't thought these people would plot against them. Yes, agreed Jing Yan firmly. However, at that moment, Tianqi said to the members of the Yu clan, "We agree to help the Yu clan obtain the Jing clan's deployment mine, and to protect your own. Trust me." The strong cultivators of the Yu clan looked at Tianqi. Trust him once again? What do you intend to do? Asked a strong cultivator of the Yu clan. Leave this last battle to us, said Tianqi calmly. The strong cultivators of the Yu clan frowned. Could they gamble with their deployment mine at this stage? I've heard that Yulin wasn't as strong as Jing Yan. If Yulin fights, you're almost certain to lose the deployment mine. If Yulin loses, you won't have any other strong cultivator to fight. If we take their mine, you'll get your share of the profits. If you trust me, even if we lose, you'll still be able to share the Jing clan's deployment mine, Continued Tianqi. The members of the Yu clan remained silent for a few minutes, talking telepathically. After a few minutes, someone asked, "Who will you send?" "Me," said someone. Everybody turned around and saw a blind sword cultivator. He walked out slowly, his eyes all white. He was quite calm and didn't look like a strong cultivator at all. When the Yu clan saw Jin Mang, they remained silent. Could they rely on a blind man to keep their deployment mine? "I don't agree," said Yu Lin icily. "You don't agree, that's your problem. We came to help. If your mine gets stolen, you won't be able to help us take the Jin clan's deployment mine afterwards, so," rebutted Tianqi icily. "All right, you can do it," said a strong cultivator of the Yu clan at that moment. "Grandpa." Yu Lin was stupefied. "They're right. The chances of you winning are low. Even if we lost, we'll still be able to take the Jin clan's deployment mine. Let them fight," said the old man calmly. All the other members of the Yu clan remained silent. Jin Mang slowly walked out and landed on the battle stage. He looked like an ordinary man, and on top of that a blind man. Jing Yan also jumped and landed on the battle stage, making the whole deployment mine area shake violently. He had an advanced understanding of deployment spells, and was extremely strong. The air he had was like he had won already. "You'll die," promised Jing Yan icily. Then he started moving, and the air began to rumble with power. The whole deployment mine was trembling. Furious dragons roared, and energies surged towards Jian Mang. At that moment, Jian Mang also moved. He used his speed, and moved faster than almost anyone in the crowd could follow. Sword lights appeared and sliced through the air, slashed through the dragons. They couldn't even see his after images. "So fast like light," blurted out someone. Jing Yan was astonished too. He frantically released as much qi as he could as he cast deployment spells. An incredible amount of strength tried to catch Jian Mang. However, at the same time, Jian Mang suddenly opened his eyes and brilliant lights emerged from them. When Jing Yan saw them, he was blinded. "No!" Jing Yan's heart twitched. What kind of strength was this? His soul was being oppressed. Light Dao. He had had no time to fully release his strength. At that moment, the members of the Jing clan were astonished and shaking. They stood up and shouted, "Jing Yan!" At that moment, they were all surprised and worried for Jing Yan. The sword lights just flickered and destroyed everything in their way. Blood splashed. The sword lights nearly cut Jing Yan's body in two. The strong cultivators of the Jing clan jumped out to catch him. They stopped the bleeding. People's hearts were pounding. How strong? Who were these people? Who are you? The strong cultivators of the Jing clan demanded of Jian Mang. This bunch of bastards, they had thoroughly ruined the Jing clan's plans. And now they wanted to take the Jing clan's deployment mine. Ho Qinglin came out and stood in the air. He looked at the members of the Jing clan. "My name is Ho Qinglin. Mu Chen is my teacher. My name is Tianqi. Mu Chen calls me Little Qi. Mu Chen is my teacher. My name is Wuxia. Mu Chen is my teacher." They all came out and stood in the air. Mu Chen's name was resonating everywhere and making Qingshan City shake. Chapter 2105. Postpone. Those geniuses all shouted Mu Chen's name at the same time. Mu Chen is my teacher. Now they couldn't forget Mu Chen's name. These incredible geniuses were Mu Chen's disciples. They had come for Mu Chen. The Jing clan despised Mu Chen. They had thought he wasn't good enough to be engaged to Jing Xiaoyu. But now his disciples had come to Qingshan City for him, and they were furious. Everybody understood that they had come for Mu Chen. The members of the Jing clan understood that now too. No wonder this group of people had come to ruin their plans. They even wanted to help the other clans take their deployment mine. Everything was for Mu Chen. However, Mu Chen wasn't really strong. Why were his disciples so strong? At that moment, Jing Xiaoyu's heart was pounding. These young people were at their prime. They were all Mu Chen's disciples. They had come for Mu Chen. If Mu Chen had seen that, he would have been so proud. But where was he? At that moment, the members of the Yu clan, the One clan and the Feng clan were all stupefied. They admired Mu Chen for having raised such great disciples. The terrifying blind sword cultivator had cut Jing Yan in two in one sword strike. His sword attacks were incredible. Were there stronger cultivators than him in this group of people? How strong was Ho Qinglin? Yulin's heart was pounding. He was a genius from the Yu clan, the best of his generation in his clan. He had been accepted at the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. Everybody admired him in their clan. In Qingshan City, everybody knew who he was. It was the same for Jing Yan, who was just a bit more famous than him in Qingshan City. But he had been cut in two with one sword strike. If that sword had been aimed at him, what would have happened? Yulin didn't dare imagine. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Where were these people from? Why were they so strong? That sword had made Yulin shake. In Qingshan City, apart from Jing Yan, he looked down on everyone else. He had heard of Mu Chun, but he had never really cared about him. Now he wanted to know who he was. How had he raised such strong disciples? Mu Chun is my teacher. Those 5 words resonated in people's thoughts. Yu clan, who was behind the whole crowd of people from the Yu clan, was staring at Lin Feng. They're all your fellow disciples? Yu Xian asked Lin Feng telepathically. She remembered what Lin Feng had said, and now she understood. Lin Feng nodded once barely. He looked at the cultivators of the Jing clan. Were they going to release Mu Chen? Yu Xian put her hand on her heart as she exhaled. It was pounding. This bunch of guys was terrifying. Wuxia had killed the fast sword of Qing Shan in one sword strike, and the blind sword cultivator had defeated Jing Yan in one sword strike. She was curious to see how strong Lin Feng was. Ho Qinglin and the others were standing there proudly. They all stared at the members of the Jing clan. 5 battles, the Yu clan won 3. The Yu clan's deployment mine remains theirs, said someone slowly. All the members of the Yu clan smiled broadly. Finally, it was over, and they could keep their deployment mine. They had made the right decision. The members of the Jing clan were furious. Not only hadn't they managed to take the 3 other clans' deployment mines, but now they risked losing their own. According to the 4 clans agreement, the Yu clan, Wen clan and Feng clan can challenge the Jing clan to take their deployment mine. Continued Ho Qinglin slowly. The members of the Jing clan all grimaced, even more furious. They couldn't do anything about this. If they fought, they'd lose. Therefore, they all remained silent. Could they even fight? Even Jing Yan and Jing Ran stood no chance. The crowd was staring at Ho Qinglin and the others. Were they furious because of Mu Chen? My teacher Mu Chen fell in love with Jing Xiaoyu. You could have refused, and that's all. Why deceive Jing Xiaoyu though? Why pretend you made an agreement when you actually imprisoned him in the Black Tower? You are such bastards, said someone else. The crowd was stupefied. Mu Chen was trapped in the Jing clan's Black Tower? What? Jing Xiaoyu looked desperate. Her face turned deathly pale. She looked at a middle-aged man and shouted extremely loudly. That's the agreement you told me about? The strong cultivators of the Jing clan all looked very unsightly. They were speechless. No wonder that you were so sure that Mu Chen wouldn't show up. You're so cruel. Jing Xiaoyu was petrified, furious, crushed. She had never thought her family members would lie to her like that. Xiaoyu, it was for your own good, whispered Jing Xiaoyu's father, walking up to her. For my own good? Jing Xiaoyu smiled mockingly. It's really for my own good. Hee hee. At that moment, the members of the Jing clan all looked at Ho Qinglin and the others icily and said, What do you want to do? Release our teacher, and don't prevent Jing Xiaoyu from leaving if she wants to. That way, we won't take your deployment mine, stated Ho Qinglin icily. The members of the Jing clan felt uncomfortable. A group of young people was threatening them. They were extremely talented, but in the eyes of the Jing clan, they were just babies. The members of the Jing clan remained silent. How could they keep their deployment mine? If they accepted, they'd fight and probably lose their mine. They would also lose massive amounts of face. Everybody already thought they were shameless for what they'd done to Mu Chen. Everybody would make fun of the Jing clan in Qingshan City. Everybody was waiting for their reply. The Jing clan, the best clan of deployment spellcasters in Qingshan City, what were they going to do? Give us 3 days to think, said a strong cultivator of the Jing clan. Ho Qinglin and the others frowned and said icily, Will you release him or not? Why would you need 3 days to think? We want to postpone the deployment mine competition for 3 days. If the Yu Feng And when clans don't agree, then we'll resort to war. Of course, we don't hope to go that far. We also propose to increase the limit of 3 people to 5, said the strong cultivators of the Jing clan. They didn't look at Ho Ching Lin and the others anymore. They didn't fear Ho Ching Lin. The deployment mines were more important. The Jing clan was sly. They changed the topic, not replying to Ho Ching Lin's question. They just said they wanted to wait for 3 days. The members of the 3 clans looked at Ho Ching Lin and the others. After all, they couldn't fight over the deployment mines anymore. They could only rely on those strong young people. All right, we'll give you 3 days. If my teacher runs into trouble during those 3 days, we'll use our full strength to destroy the Jing clan, said Ho Ching Lin icily. They were worried that the Jing clan would harm Mu Chen. They had come from the Dark Night region. Nobody would support them in godly clouds. If they threatened the Jing clan, maybe they wouldn't harm Mu Chen. In 3 days, we'll answer your question, said the strong cultivators of the Jing clan evasively. They all stood up and left silently. Jing Xiaoyu left too. She was going to the Black Tower. Tiantai's cultivators looked glum. However, in 3 days, the Jing clan wouldn't be able to avoid the issue. Brother Ho, 3 days will pass quickly. I'm sure that Mu Chen will come back safe and sound. Come with us to the Feng clan to rest for these 3 days. Master Tianqi, let's go back too. You'll have a good rest in the Wen clan. The Feng clan and Wen clan all invited these incredible young people to go with them. If their young people exchanged views on cultivation with these young people, it would be extremely beneficial. The strong cultivators of the Yu clan walked up to Ho Ching Lin and the others, and Yu Kuan said, "You are all extraordinary geniuses. If you have time, please come to the Yu clan. We'll treat you well as a sign of gratitude for today." When Ho Ching Lin and the others heard that, they looked at Lin Feng and the others in the distance. Lin Feng didn't say anything, which meant that they hadn't treated him that well, so they didn't need to go there. As long as Lin Feng stayed there, the Yu clan didn't need anyone else, just like before. No need. We're going back to the Feng clan and Wen clan. We'll see one another in 3 days. We hope the Yu clan will help us then. Yes, you helped us keep our deployment mine. We will do our best to save Mu Chen. It's a pity that you're not willing to come to the Yu clan though, Yu Kuan sighed. When we save Mu Chen, we'll come visit your clan, said Ho Ching Lin politely. After a few sentences they left. Everybody dispersed. The Yu clan also left. Yu Xian wanted to say something, but she didn't. She wanted to tell the Yu clan that Lin Feng was their friend, too. But since Lin Feng didn't say anything, she tried to control herself. Maybe that he had his own ideas. 3 days, whispered Lin Feng. He sincerely hoped the Jing clan would release Mu Chen. At the same time, the members of the Yu clan were chatting. Yu Lin, if you have time, go to the Feng clan and Wen clan to spend some time with those geniuses and exchange views on cultivation. Indeed, those people are extremely strong, sighed Yu Yi. As if Yu Kuan had thought of something, he gazed into the distance and looked at Lin Feng, who was still next to Yu Xian, and smiled. Lin Feng, did you learn anything from the battles today? Yes. Lin Feng nodded. The world of cultivation is vast. Your teacher is a great scholar. He probably knows some great deployment spells. However, don't forget about cultivation itself. You probably learned a lot today, said Yu Kuan with a smile. Yu Xian's eyes twinkled. She wanted to say something, but she didn't. Chapter 2106, News in the Yu clan. Lin Feng was in his spirit world, seated cross-legged. In front of him, someone was running around at lightning speed unceasingly. Suddenly, the silhouette exploded into fighting, booms accompanying every movement. Qi rolled as the air shook. Qi condensed into a punch and turned into a vortex. Cosmic energies danced and blew apart. That punch was pure strength. Dancing windy clouds, said a giant next to Lin Feng. The silhouette changed. Energies pulsed continuously. A hand streaked across the sky, leaving a beautiful trail behind. Many silhouettes appeared. The wind moaned and condensed. Energies continued pulsing. The energies didn't completely condense. They dispersed and the silhouette fell back to the ground. It's still not enough. When your 9 dancing windy clouds are better, you'll be able to control that body. But to control the full strength of that body, you'll need to study much more, said the giant. That silhouette looked at the giant and nodded. Lin Feng controlled the saint's body with his soul. It didn't have a consciousness, so he could control it easily. He needed to drive it though, and for that he needed to learn how to move it quickly and how to use its full strength. But his soul wasn't strong enough. He did his best, though, and tried to get more familiar with it. After all, a saint's punch was much more powerful than his own. I'll continue practicing cultivation, said the saint, nodding. Then he continued running and getting familiar with that body. A thread of Lin Feng's soul came out of the body and moved back into his body. His real body opened his eyes. In the Jing clan, people were still furious. Jing Yan's injuries were much better. At his cultivation level, as long as someone's physical body wasn't completely destroyed, they could recover. However, they couldn't have the same strength as before for a long time when their injuries were too serious. Especially in Jing Yan's case. After all, Jian Mang's sword attack contained light Dao. What should we do, master? Many people were looking at an old man at that moment. He was one of the 2 saint emperors of the Jing clan. Jing Yan, how many resources does your teacher have? The old man asked Jing Yan. He has a lot of resources. He wants to create a deployment spell clan. But first we have to give him 1/3 of the deployment mine, replied Jing Yan. When the crowd heard him, they were stupefied. 1/3 of the deployment mine. Did they want to destroy the Jing clan? That's too much. Hand Mu Chen over. Even if we lose face, at least we won't need to lose 1/3 of the deployment mine, said someone angrily. 1/3 was too much. Uncle, you're wrong. He wants to create a clan. He'll definitely make the Jing clan happy, replied Jing Yan carefully. His uncle frowned and said, What you mean is that he'll destroy the 3 other clans. Of course. Then we'll share equally. The Jing clan won't lose anything that way, said Jing Yan icily. He had suffered a crushing defeat. He didn't want the Jing clan to give in and release Mu Chen. Can we keep the situation under control? My teacher is greedy, but he won't go too far. Besides, he won't open a clan of deployment spellcasters in Qingshan City. He just needs resources, Jing Yan promised. If your teacher gets involved, can he definitely defeat those people? After all, they are extremely strong. Don't worry. All my fellow disciples are extremely strong. Those people won't be able to escape from them. Besides, many of their people have already fought. They must have at most 1 or 2 people who are strong as that blind sword cultivator. Regarding Yulin, none of my fellow disciples is weaker than him. One of my friends is even getting ready for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, Jing Yan said calmly. He knew how strong his fellow disciples were. He couldn't invite his fellow disciples, who were getting ready for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, even if they were good friends. Only his teacher could do that. When the members of the Jing clan heard Jing Yan, they all remained silent. One middle-aged man asked, Jing Yan, what about your sister? After that, we'll kill Mu Chen. Prevent her from leaving for a while. Then after some time she'll forget about him, and we'll introduce a nice and outstanding man to her, said Jing Yan. Everybody remained silent again. They all looked at the old leader of the Jing clan. He was the only one who could make the final decisions. Finally, his eyes glittered and he said to Jing Yan, Tell your teacher about this. If he promises he won't open a clan in Qingshan City, and if he accepts sharing the deployment mines with us, invite him to come. All right. Jing Yan's eyes glittered and he nodded. Leave it to me. The Yu Wen and Feng clans didn't know about this agreement. Lin Feng and Ho Qing Lin didn't know either. They were calmly waiting for the 3 days to pass. 1 day was left. Some news spread that the Jing clan accepted the challenge. Also, they wanted to change the place of the battles to the central battlefield of Qingshan City. They seemed to be conveying a hidden message. If we can't protect the deployment mine, it doesn't matter. Nobody will be able to take it from us anyway. The news spread everywhere in Qingshan City. People in Qingshan City were talking about it everywhere. Everybody knew and took delight in talking about the battle which had taken place 2 days before. Everybody knew what had happened and who Mu Chen was. They also knew that Mu Chen's disciples were terrifying. Now the Jing clan had surprisingly accepted their challenge. Did they have other trump cards? Everybody was impatient and couldn't wait to see the battle. Some people had seen how strong Jian Mang and the others were, and they couldn't wait to see those who hadn't fought yet. Some of them had missed the battles, and they didn't want to miss them this time. Maybe this time the battles were going to be even better than 2 days before. In the Yu clan, Yu Xian saw Lin Feng and told him the news. Lin Feng frowned. He hoped to rescue Mu Chen without a fight. However, the Jing clan wouldn't give them such an opportunity. Does the Jing clan have other trump cards? Asked Lin Feng to Yu Xian. No. The Jing clan's strongest cultivator is Jing Yan, and he suffered a crushing defeat. In any case, he can't fight again. The only trump card they have would cost them a lot. They'd need to ask someone outside for help. However, your friends are all so strong. Asking for help would be useless. In Qingshan City, there aren't such terrifying cultivators unless... Yu Xian looked pensive and frowned. Unless what? Asked Lin Feng. You know that Jing Yan and Yu Lin are from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. They have some contacts. Unless they ask the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry for help, they can't do much. And I don't think Jing Yan can get them to help. He needs some extremely strong cultivators for that, said Yu Xian. Lin Feng was suddenly a bit worried. It was indeed a resource the Jing clan could mine. That bunch of bastards, said Tantai icily. We should have destroyed them on that day and stolen their deployment mine. Things aren't that easy. The Jing clan said they needed time. Do you think the 3 clans could have started a war against them? Yu Xian said to Tantai. The answer was obvious. Even if they invite people from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. So what? I'll crush them with one punch, said Tantai. He hadn't fought the previous time. He was ready to fight now. Yu Xian's beautiful eyes twinkled and she smiled at Tantai. Big boy, how strong are you? I think I should be able to defeat Jing Yan easily, said Tantai smiled and scratched his head. Yu Xian was stupefied and speechless. Jing Yan was the strongest cultivator of Qingshan City in his generation. This guy dared say he could defeat him easily? What about him? Asked Yu Xian, smiling at Tantai and pointing at Lin Feng. Tantai listened to Lin Feng all the time. So if he could defeat Jing Yan easily, what about Lin Feng? Tantai shook his head and smiled. I'm not sure either, to be honest. Silly boy, thought Yu Xian looking at Tantai. Lin Feng, Yu Xian, said someone at that moment. They turned around to see Yu Yi and Su Mu arrived. Sister Yi, said Yu Xian politely. After all, Yu Yi had a high position in the clan, so she had to be polite. She couldn't act as naturally as she could when she was with Lin Feng and Tantai. Yu Yi nodded and didn't look at her, turning and saying to Lin Feng, Lin Feng, the Jing clan doesn't intend to give up their deployment mine. It will be a deadly fight. It has nothing to do with you, however, there will be some dangerous fights. If you want, we can go and watch together. All right, good, said Lin Feng, smiling and nodding. Of course he was going to go. The Jing clan will regret everything, said Tantai icily. When Su Mu heard Tantai, he looked at him disdainfully and asked, You think the Jing clan will lose? Of course, said Tantai. Su Mu shook his head and left with Yu Yi. He said indifferently, This time, the Jing clan accepted the challenge. It means that they will pay the full price and invite people from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry to come and help. With the strong cultivators of the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, they can't lose. Su Mu was also from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. He knew them quite well. If the Jing clan invited people from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, the Jing clan couldn't possibly lose. The Jing clan was able to oppress 3 clans alone before. And if Ho Qing Lin hadn't gotten involved, they could have taken all 3 mines themselves. Chapter 2107. Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry's Strong Cultivators. He thinks that the cultivators of the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry are the strongest in the world. They got crushed 2 days ago, though. Tantai said icily, watching Su Mu leave. The Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry isn't the best. Tantai talked loudly, and Sumu heard him, suddenly turning around and looking at Tantai icily. Even though the Yu clan might be going to face some cultivators from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, Sumu was from there too, and he couldn't let anyone humiliate the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. People like you can't understand. You think everyone is as strong as that blind sword cultivator? Said Sumu, smiling icily. Then he said to Yu Yi, "Little Yi, how can the Yu clan have guests like this?" He left and disappeared into the distance. Yu Yi smiled wryly. She turned around and glanced at Lin Feng. He was a guest in the Yu clan, but she said nothing. She just left with Sumu. Even though Lin Feng's teacher was a great scholar, Lin Feng's social status wasn't as high as Sumu's. Sumu was a member of the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, and he was also trying to get close to her. Empty words, said Tantai, watching Sumu leave. He was furious and explosive chi began to build around him. I really want to teach him a good lesson. No need, said Lin Feng calmly. At that moment he was thinking about Mu Chun. If the Jing clan did that, what could he do on the day after? Even if he defeated the Jing clan and obtained their deployment mine, what could he do afterwards? Obtaining a deployment mine wouldn't make them release Mu Chun. And how would the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry get involved? He couldn't do anything but wait. Time seemed to pass so slowly. The morning of the next day, Lin Feng, Yu Xian, and Tantai gathered together with the other strong cultivators of the Yu clan. They were getting ready to depart for the fight. When the strong cultivators of the Yu clan arrived, they noticed that Lin Feng and Tantai had already arrived. They were surprised. Yu Kuan smiled and said, "Lin Feng, my boy, you're really determined." "He's just very ignorant," said Sumu, who was standing next to Yu Kuan. Yu Kuan was surprised and looked at Yu Yi strangely. Yu Yi smiled wryly and used telepathy to explain to Yu Kuan what had happened the day before. Yu Kuan didn't say anything, and after that, he didn't say anything else to Lin Feng. The group of people rose up into the air and flew towards the fight's location. The members of the One clan and the Feng clan were also heading there. Apart from them, there were many other people gathered there who wanted to watch. The Yu clan is here. Only the Jing clan hasn't arrived yet, the crowd murmured when they saw the members of the Yu clan arrive. Their eyes were twinkling. Those who had helped the three clans defeat the Jing clan 3 days before were there too. Ho Qing Lin and the others. They had come for Mu Chun. What were they going to do? "Brother Ho, have you already thought of the people for the 5 battles today?" A strong Yu clan cultivator asked Ho Qing Lin, who was with the members of the Feng clan. Ho Qing Lin was a junior in comparison with him, but he respectfully called him brother. "We'll see who can fight on the Jing clan's side," said Ho Qing Lin calmly. He looked at Lin Feng, a little worried. What could they do if the Jing clan refused to release Mu Chun? "Yes, I'm convinced your friends are all extremely strong. We'll win," said the Yu cultivator, smiling thinly. If the Jing clan had called people from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, it would be difficult for Ho Qing Lin and the others to do as they wished. People from the Jing clan are here. The crowd gazed into the distance. A group of strong cultivators arrived slowly. Even the elder of the Jing clan had come personally. Jing Yan and Jing Ran were there as well. They looked confident and at ease as they looked over the crowd. Many people had cold sweats. They had the impression there was something wrong. "Jing clan, you came to battle, but are you going to release our teacher?" asked Ho Qing Lin calmly while walking forwards. However, he wasn't calm on the inside. "Fight," said a strong cultivator of the Jing clan indifferently. Ho Qing Lin took a deep breath and said, "Tiantai's disciple will step onto the battle stage to kill today." A terrifying energy began to fill the air. The sun was shining and it was a warm day, but those energies felt ice cold. Ho Qing Lin was crazy. "Kill people." The strong cultivators of the Jing clan smiled cruelly and said, "You can try." When the crowd saw their cold smiles, they knew something strange was going on. In the distance, some chi began to surge, and the wind roared furiously. A powerful and ferocious chi swept over. "What a powerful bestial chi! What kind of beast is that?" thought the crowd gazing into the distance. In front of the sun, there was a gigantic beast. It had the head of a lion and the body of a bird, with gigantic wings. It looked particularly ferocious, and made the whole crowd shiver. What a terrifying beast. It seems extremely strong. The crowd was astonished, especially when they saw a group of 5 people standing on that beast. On the edge of the wings, there were 2 people wearing deployment robes. Their chi looked extraordinary. They also glanced at the watching crowd disdainfully. On the head of the beast was a young man, his robe fluttering in the wind like an aloof king. It's him. Yulin frowned. His cheek twitched. The Jing clan had invited him too. And the 4 other people were strong too. The 3 clans were definitely going to lose. Phew, he surprisingly came. What price did the Jing clan pay? Sumu took a deep breath when he saw that young man. His heart even started pounding. Even though the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry was a powerful group, there weren't many people who were at the very top of the Huangqi layer there. And the young man on the head of the beast was one of them. He was initially getting ready for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. But today he had come to Qingshan City. When the Yu clan's members saw Yulin and Sumu's expressions, they realized something was going on and asked Yulin, "Who's that?" Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, a cultivator of the top of the Huangqi layer, who has no enemy at the same cultivation level. Yulin said solemnly and respectfully. A cultivator of the top of the Huangqi layer, who had no enemy at the same level. Some people were more talented than some others. Some people broke through to the Di-Chi layer when they reached such a level, but some people needed more time to make their strength mature. Those people could easily kill ordinary great emperors. Some people who had no enemy at the same level were even stronger than some people who had already broken through. They were rare and powerful. When Lin Feng heard the words, "Who has no enemy at the same level," he remembered those cultivators of the very top of the Zunqi layer, who had no enemies at the same level either. Back then, those people understood cosmic energies already, or their force had already been multiplied by 1,000. However, at the level of the Huangqi layer, it meant only one thing: fighting abilities. Nobody said that about themselves, not even geniuses. The continent was too big. There couldn't be one person who had no enemy at the same level in the whole world. Therefore, it referred to some people who were getting closer and closer to the literal meaning of that concept. In godly clouds, it probably meant that that person was qualified to participate to the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. A cultivator who has no enemy at the same level. All the members of the Yu clan were stupefied. Then they heard Sumu say, "He's also an emperor." However, Yi Kei can kill ordinary emperors of the top of the Huangqi layer. Yi Kei is very strong. In the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, he's like an overlord, said Yulin and Sumu. The faces of the Yu clan's strong cultivators twitched. The Jing clan had surprisingly invited such terrifying people. They really wanted to protect their deployment mine. What about the 4 others? They're also extremely strong. I can't participate in that battle. Let them fight, Yulin said indifferently. He wanted to give up the Jing clan's deployment mine already. He was convinced that if Ho Qinglin and the others fought, they were going to die. Lin Feng overheard Yulin and Sumu. He frowned. Maybe they were afraid not because those people were too strong, but because those people's social status was too high in the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. The Jing clan had surprisingly invited such people. Lin Feng thought about that. The members of the Yu clan also thought about that. At that moment they looked pensive. What price had the Jing clan paid to bring these people here? I hope that Yulin and Sumu will make friends with those people when they go back to the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. That way, they will never do anything against the Yu clan, thought some strong cultivators of the Yu clan. The beast landed in front of the members of the Jing clan. The members of the Jing clan greeted them politely. Many people from Qingshan City had now realized there was something wrong. Brother Yi Kei, I wouldn't have thought you would come to Qingshan City. If I had known that, I would have come to pick you up, said Sumu politely, bowing before Yi Kei who was on that beast. Brother Yi Kei, since you came to Qingshan City, the Yu clan will do their best to welcome you warmly, said Yulin. waving at Yi Ke politely. Many people were speechless. Yu Lin and Su Mu were members of the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry too, and they were so polite to that man, who was of the same generation as them. It meant that they belonged to different worlds. Chapter 2108. Humiliation. When Yi Ke heard Yu Lin and Su Mu, he looked at the members of the Yu clan and said indifferently, "Since you are from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, you may not participate today." "Understood, brother." Yu Lin and Su Mu nodded. When the members of the Feng and Wen clans heard that, they pulled long faces. Su Mu and Yu Lin were so respectful to him. They didn't even dare contradict him. Initially, they had thought Yu Lin would help, but now he didn't dare fight. The members of the Feng clan and the Wen clan looked at Ho Qing Lin, Tian Qi, and the others. The battles were going to be difficult. Ho Qing Lin frowned. Then he turned to the strong cultivators of the Feng clan and said, "The Jing clan asked to postpone the battles of 3 days. They should choose fighters first, right?" Yi Ke and the others gave Ho Qing Lin some pressure. Jian Meng, Tian Qi, and Wuxia had already fought. Lin Feng and Ho Qing Lin could win a battle. But what about the 3 other ones? Jing Shou and Tantai might be able to win a battle too, but it wasn't sure. Therefore, if they could choose fighters according to the enemies, that would be better. "Yes, they should," replied a strong cultivator of the Feng clan. He stood up and said, "Since we've been waiting for you, you should choose people first, right?" Yi Ke looked at the strong cultivator of the Feng clan aloofly, and said disdainfully, "You surprisingly care about who chooses their fighters first. They surprisingly dare talk to outstanding cultivators of the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry that way," agreed a strong cultivator of the Jing clan, sneering. "This battle is not necessary. You should have made them surrender. But since our teacher told us to come, blood will flow now," Yi Ke said arrogantly. "This bunch of little boys dares talk empty words," whispered Tantai icily. He came out of one of the Yu clan's palaces in the distance. Yu Lin frowned and looked at Tantai, whispering, "You're ignorant like a frog in a well." Yi Ke was extremely well known in the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, so in Qingshan City, he was considered even stronger. He was an incredible cultivator. At the same cultivation level, almost nobody could compete with him. Even some great emperors couldn't compete with him. The Jing clan had surprisingly invited such people over. "Hopelessly stupid," retorted Tantai icily, glancing at Yu Lin. Yu Lin looked back at him coldly. Lin Feng tapped Tantai's shoulder to tell him to calm down. Arguing with Yu Lin was useless. Now that the members of the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry were there, what could they do? Lin Feng only thought of Mu Chun, nothing else. Ho Qing Lin brought the members of Tiantai to the front, and looked at Yi Ke and the others calmly. He said indifferently, "Blood will flow. Since it's that way, if you fight today, you represent the Jing clan, and we can kill you if we are able to?" "Yes." The members of Tiantai looked aloof and composed. The atmosphere was oppressive at that moment. People finally remembered that these people were talented too. 3 days before, they had astonished the whole town because of their teacher. However, the 5 cultivators who had come from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry were beasts. Yu Lin and Jing Yin looked like insects next to them, especially in front of Yi Quebec. Yu Lin, Su Mu, and the others all looked to him respectfully. "Ridiculous. Su Yu, first battle you go," said Yi Quebec. A young man who was on the left wing of the beast instantly responded, "All right." He jumped forwards, moving quickly and landing instantly on the battle stage. He released chi towards Ho Qing Lin and the others, the air humming. His cosmic energies had fused together with force. Those energies mainly targeted Ho Qing Lin. "Who's coming to die?" asked Su Yu calmly. His chi kept humming. His teacher had ordered him to come, now he wanted to kill. He didn't just want to protect the Jing clan's deployment mine. He wanted to take all the others. What a powerful chi. Apart from chi, Ho Qing Lin sensed something else, another kind of strength. Dao power. The Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry was very famous in godly clouds. They had many geniuses. especially since godly clouds was the central part of the continent. Su Yu raised his hand, and a gigantic black sword appeared. It looked heavy and endless because it was so long. He put it on the ground. There was a rumble as a cloud of dust appeared. The ground trembled. Marks appeared all around the sword as a thick strength surrounded his body. The atmosphere became oppressive. Back then, Su Yu killed an arrogant high-level emperor in one sword strike. His strength is almost unmatched at the same cultivation level, Yulin sighed. This battle was going to be tragic for Mu Chen's disciples. Powerful force I'll go, said Ho Qinglin calmly. He slowly walked out. His robe fluttered in the wind. He walked onto the battle stage and stretched out his hand. He grabbed the sword on his back. He was moving slowly and naturally. Both fighters' forces were incredible. That Ho Qinglin is those people's second fellow disciple. He must be extremely strong. And now he's going to fight the first battle, analyzed the crowd. A heavy sword versus a swift sword. Su Yu smiled mockingly. The air crackled as he charged towards Ho Qinglin, while brandishing his gigantic sword. Stars appeared all around the battle stage. Strident sounds pierced through people's eardrums. At the same time, a powerful, thick, and heavy force bore down on the whole battle stage. Ho Qinglin's force and chi changed. A strong wind started blowing, and the air began to buzz wildly. A vortex appeared around him, filled with reincarnation strength. Ho Qinglin also started moving forwards. A hurricane roared furiously around him. Reincarnation strength filled the air and blotted out the sky. The energies weighed millions of jin. Reincarnation, he controls reincarnation Tao. The aura was pressing down, people's hearts started pounding. How strong! It wasn't easy to tell who was going to win now. Su Yu's expression slightly changed. However, his sword continued streaking across the sky. Marks kept intertwining on the battle stage. They turned into powerful dazzling deployment lights, making the gigantic sword even more powerful. Die! Shouted Su Yu explosively. The heavy sword hacked towards Ho Qinglin. However, Ho Qinglin was crazy when fighting. Nothing could distract him. He had to bear the pressure. Reincarnation lights penetrated into his enemy's godly awareness and body. Who was going to suffer more? Su Yu's arm descended. His sword moved towards Ho Qinglin. Ho Qinglin sensed the pressure, and had the impression his body was going to explode. However, his sword moved too. It absorbed reincarnation lights, and Su Yu's body began to distort. He was falling into the wheel of reincarnation. He's crazy. His attacks are so swift. But he looks extremely aggressive, thought Lin Feng when he saw that. He was still convinced that Ho Qinglin was going to win. Ho Qinglin couldn't be weaker than his opponent. The crowd was shaking. Even their souls were trembling. However, the atmosphere on the battle stage had already calmed down. Ho Qinglin looked crazy as he took a deep breath. He had the impression his body was going to be crushed. It felt like the earth and sky were about to collapse. However, he still looked confident and at ease. As he turned around and walked back to Tiantai's people, everybody was staring at him. He had won. Regarding what was on the battle stage, only a gigantic and heavy sword was left. Su Yu had already disappeared. There were still some intertwining marks left on the ground. However, they weren't enough, and hadn't protected him. Ye Kei felt humiliated. They had lost the first battle. He had the impression he had been slapped in the face. Ye Kei frowned, and looked at Tiantai's people with murder in his eyes. He could look furious, but it wouldn't change the result of the battle. The members of the Jing clan were astonished. Su Yu had been killed. He was a genius from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, and he had been killed because of the Jing clan? The members of the Yu clan were astonished too, especially Yulin and Su Mu. Their thoughts were shaking. They felt ridiculous for what they had said just before. Oh wow, the cultivators of the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry are so strong, said Tiantai mockingly. Ho Qingling had humiliated them. How awesome. Those two morons kept talking about how strong Su Yu was before the battle. Su Mu and Yulin heard he was making fun of them and frowned. But what could they say? Su Yu had been killed. It was a fact. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.